Mario Party!
Welcome to Identifying Luck for Mario Party 10. It is here we will learn how to best improve our odds of winning at the only Mario Party game that has Bowser Party, where one player gets to live the life of their dreams as Bowser in an effort to squash the poor saps trying to reach the end. Normally we only cover Party Mode, but what's this? I don't see anything listed Party Mode here, just Mario Party and Bowser Party, so I guess we'll have to cover them both. Oh darn. Side note, the results screen doesn't let you check how many spaces everyone landed on for some reason, which is really stupid. Let's hop into the car and get into the bonus stars, which are only relevant in Mario Party mode because Bowser hates them. We've got the minigame star, far star, slow star, minus star, and dice block star. So it's Mario Party 9 setup, but without the spin star, so this should be easy. Since the win condition for Mario Party mode is collecting the most amount of mini stars by the end, bonus stars in this title award 10 mini stars a pop, unlike 9's 5 a pop. This one can also see a bonus star show up even if all the players tie in its category, so everyone can win a bonus star in this title due to 2 out of 5 of them being chosen at pure random. Just like in Mario Party Island Tour, players that tie for first place in the minigame must roll dice blocks to determine the winner. But Minigame Star is awarded to the player with the most minigame wins, including a free-for-all 2v2, 1v rivals, and boss minigames. So do you think the initial win counts towards the Minigame Star, or the post-tie-breaking roll? It is unfortunately the post-tie-breaking roll one, so even if you play incredible and keep getting first, it won't matter if you keep losing the tiebreaker rolls, which is why it's pretty important to not settle for ties. The far star is awarded to whoever moved the most spaces forward while taking a turn. Dash spaces, which cause you to roll another dice block and move forward, add to this count. Backspaces, which cause you to roll another dice block and move backwards, do not subtract from this count like they did in 9. If a space cuts off your movement, like a boss battle space for example, then you'll only get the amount of spaces you actually traveled. I wouldn't worry too much about this bonus star though, since the slow star exists, which as expected is awarded to whoever moved the least spaces forward while taking a turn, using the same counting rules as the far star. Considering these are opposites, I see no point in basing your game around either of them. The dice block star is awarded to the player that used the most special dice blocks, pretty straightforward. You can only hold up to 2 items in this title, so make sure you're using these guys whenever you're at max inventory so that you can get your count as high as possible. The minus star is given to whoever lost the most mini stars overall, including mini star rings found across the board, board events, Bowser events, anything that loses you mini stars counts. This is clearly a bonus star to appreciate by chance, and not something you should aim for since it only grants you 10 mini stars as a bonus. Our spaces for this title are Advance, Back, that was on purpose, Boo, Boss Battle, Bowser, Bowser Block, Bowser Jr., Cannon, Change, Dash, Dragoneel, Gate, Green, Heart, Lucky, Minigame, Special Dice Block, Special Event, Steal, and Unlucky. These spaces show up in Mario Party mode, and these ones show up in Bowser Party mode. We'll be covering them all. Landing on an advanced space, which I tend to call dash spaces, will move you forward 2, 3, or 4 spaces at random. It's nearly always a good thing considering it only shows up in Bowser Party, where your win condition is reaching the end without Bowser depleting all of your hearts. If you can land on one of these and choose not to, you'd better have a good reason for it. Landing on the backspace, Mario Party mode version will have you hit the dice block again, which rolls 1 through 6 to go backwards, which is useful if you don't want to move forward on your turn. It also lets you collect mini stars behind you as well, which is a great move to make. Landing on the backspace, Bowser Party mode version will move you back 2, 3, or 4 spaces chosen at random, which is nearly always bad since that brings you closer to Bowser and puts your team at risk of playing a Bowser minigame. Avoid these at all costs. Regardless of which backspace you encounter, if you land on the same one 4 times in a row, then it'll magically turn into a green space to prevent any frustration. Landing on a Boo space, which only appears in Haunted Trail, will cause an automatic roulette wheel to appear, where whoever is landed on is the one that the Boo will now haunt. The Boo takes 5 mini stars from said player each time it's their turn, so if you have the Boo on you, then get on this Boo space as quickly as possible. If it's not haunting you, then avoid it. You'd rather not chance the roulette landing on you. The boss battle space will stop the cart short and award the captain 5 mini-stars for arriving at it if it's the midway fortress, or 10 mini-stars if it's the ending castle. This replaces the captain bonuses that Mario Party 9 had. Those are no more. The first time a board is played, the corresponding boss will automatically be chosen. Here are all the first time boss placements for each of the boards. After the first play, the player that comes across a boss battle space will be allowed to select which boss they want to encounter from 3 random choices. If a CPU is the one choosing, it'll do it at random. Landing on the Bowser space will spawn the huge Koopa, he is massive in this title, who will cause one of 6 fun-filled events to occur. Lose half of your mini-stars, 1 Bowser icon. Cool, so right off the bat, these Bowser icons are completely meaningless. Not like mini-stars in the win condition or anything. Oh, and guess what? If you're in last place when encountering this event, Bowser will not take it easy on you like you might have expected. Your count will still get chopped in half. At least he rounds down when this is done. Whatever. Reverse minigame, 1 Bowser icon. Bowser will have everyone play either Bob-omb Combo, Fuzzy Fliers, or Fruit Cahoots, where the win condition is to do the opposite of what the minigame normally requires. So basically, play terribly. Whoever does the worst wins and gets 20 mini-stars as a reward. For Bob-omb Combo, that means chaining the least amount of Bob-omb explosions as possible. For Fuzzy Fliers, that means reducing your cloud's counter to 0 as quickly as possible. And for Fruit Cahoots, that means achieving the lowest possible score. If 3 out of the players at most tie, then they'll all receive 20 mini-stars. But if all players tie, nobody gets anything. We'll go over the strats for playing terribly in these minigames' respective sections later. 20 mini-stars is no joke. Give 10 mini-stars to the player in last place. 2 Bowser icons. Totally blows, but what can you do? Thankfully, it's last place getting your mini-stars and not second place. If you're in last place when activating this event, then Bowser will give you 10 mini-stars like the good guy he is. If you're not in last place, but at least a couple other players are, then Bowser will choose one of them at random to get your mini-stars. If everyone is tied for first place, then Bowser will give up on the event cause that wouldn't be fair. And Bowser plays fair, as we all know. Battle for half your mini-stars, 3 Bowser icons. Bowser will take half of each player's mini-stars, put them in a pot, and let the captain decide which free-for-all minigame will be played. How many mini-stars each player wins depends on placing and how many players are in the game. So if you're only playing with one other person, then the winner's gonna get the entire pot. Whereas if you've got 4 people in the game, then the distribution is pretty different. The jackpot you battle for can get game-changingly high, so if you're choosing the minigame, then be very deliberate with your decision or try to influence the player that is choosing to select a minigame that you're good at. Yes, unfortunately, tiebreaker dice blocks apply here too. Bowser Revolution, 4 Bowser icons. Welcome back, baby! I'm not happy to see you, but welcome! Bowser loves this event because it means he gets to equalize everyone's mini-stars in a game where mini-stars are the win condition. Doesn't matter how crazy good you've been playing, doesn't matter how close to the end everyone is, you're now equal with everybody else. Only difference now is what items you got and the bonus stars. There's very little counterplay to be had other than avoiding Bowser spaces like the plague and making sure others do the same. If there's an uneven amount of mini-stars to take, Bowser keeps the remainder. Keep your item stock up? I guess? What a nightmare. Win 10,000 mini-stars, 5 Bowser icons. Believe it or not, when this one gets landed on, Bowser will actually pay up a single mini-star. Now look, it's not 10,000, but this is astronomically more generous than just running away, right? At this rate, he may actually give it to us in the future titles, who knows? Regarding reverse minigames and battle for half your mini-stars, they go by the same rules as regular minigames during homestretch, where the last place player will select the minigame instead of the current player in control. Bowser block spaces only appear in Bowser Party. Landing on a +1 Bowser block space will cause Bowser Jr. to add 1 Bowser dice block to his collection, which is awful. Anytime you land on one, it should be by complete chance. Look at the items everyone has and collaborate to make sure they're avoided at all costs. The reverse is true when it comes to the -1 Bowser block space. Bowser already has a great deal of advantages in this mode, and a good Bowser player can wreak havoc on you, so hitting them with a -1 dice block to the roll is incredible. Landing on the Bowser Jr. space will spawn the little guy. His events differ depending on whether you're playing in Mario Party mode or Bowser Party mode. Let's start with the Plumber, where he'll choose one of 4 dastardly events. Lose special dice blocks, 1 junior icon. Definitely a bummer and a good reason to ensure that you're using your items whenever there's a good opportunity. Last thing you want to do is miss out on the item block bonus star because you were too hesitant. Give 5 mini stars to the player in last place, 3 junior icons. This ain't much, so not something to get worked up about. If you're the one in last when activating it, then junior will give you 5 mini stars. If you're not the one in last, but at least a couple players are, then junior will choose one of them at random to get your mini stars. If everyone's tied for first, then junior won't do the event. Battle for 10 mini stars, 4 junior icons. This is Junior's baby version of Bowser's battle for half of your mini stars, where players give up 10 of their mini stars each and battle for the jackpot. If there isn't enough given, Junior will provide the rest, and if a tie occurs, then a tie-breaking dice block will determine the winner. Yay. Here's the distribution for how many mini stars each player gets based on placing and how many people are playing. I personally think Junior should take a page from his dad and intensify these events. Lose half of your mini stars. Okay, maybe not that much. This brutal junior event sticks out amongst the more lenient ones. It simply halves your mini star count rounded down. If you don't have any mini stars, then Junior has a chance at giving you 5, and just like Bowser, Junior will not spare you this punishment if you're in last place, which is evil incarnate. This event alone is why I unfortunately cannot recommend landing on the Bowser Jr. space for any reason whatsoever. Losing half of your mini stars is just too big of a deal. During Bowser Party mode, Junior will have 6 possible events to choose from. Lose special dice blocks, 1 junior icon. Here he'll take away all players' special dice blocks, not just yours. Wow, we are starting off strong. The team can lose up to 3 items that could have been used against Bowser. Definitely one to avoid. Bowser Jr. Revolution, 2 junior icons. Junior collects everyone's hearts and divides them equally amongst every player, keeping any of the remaining hearts. This event is probably the least bad out of all of them, most of the time. It probably won't be that big of a deal unless the most skilled players' hearts get reduced like crazy. Even then, you can argue that equaling everything out is good for the sake of having more people to roll dice blocks. The only objective problem here is that any remaining hearts are taken. Bowser dice block +1, 3 junior icons. No, absolutely not. Bowser already has advantages for him to catch up to you, so the last thing you need is him getting more dice blocks. This event does not appear during the 3rd section of Chaos Castle, since movement is crazy there. Bowser gets to back 5 spaces, 4 junior icons. Junior will send the vehicle back 5 spaces, which is bad, but can definitely be recovered from. Unless Bowser's there, ready to trigger a Bowser minigame. This event doesn't show up during the 3rd section of Chaos Castle either, again, because Bowser gets to everyone's hearts reduced by half, 4 junior icons. Terrible, awful. If there's a player on your team that's been crushing minigames, then their hearts getting halved through no fault of their own is a huge bummer. Thankfully, he takes the rounded down version, so anyone at an odd number will lose the lower amount. Players at 1 heart are not affected. Reduced to 1 heart, 5 junior icons. You won't get ejected from the game by this, but if a Bowser minigame is played soon after, then it's pretty likely that you'll get knocked out, so it's still a bad event to encounter. You should be way more weary of Junior and Bowser Party mode as opposed to Mario Party mode. Don't be afraid to use any items to pass them up. Cannon spaces only show up on Airship Central. Landing on 1 will shoot the amount of cannonballs listed on the space at Bowser's ship. 2 is the most common amount, and 4 is the rare amount. Your main goal here is to be the player that finishes off Bowser's ship for the 10 mini-star bonus. So while you might think that you should always go for 4, that's only if it would guarantee you the win here. Landing on a change space will randomly alter the turn order, which can absolutely land on you, letting you take a turn again. This turn change happens at the very end of your turn after any board events occur, such as the Bowser Fireball on Chaos Castle, so targeting this event in hopes of avoiding such a board event is not viable. Landing on the dash space will let you hit the dice block again, which is 1 through 6, and move forward, collecting any mini-stars along the path, which is great. Aim for it when optimal. Landing on the Dragon Eel space, which can only be found on Whimsical Waters, causes you to encounter the same event as the Dragon Eel treasures, which only required you to pass by them to activate. The worst thing you can get from it is 5 mini stars, so shoot for it whenever possible. We'll cover this event more in its respective section. Gate spaces are only found in Bowser Party. Landing on a green space actually potentially does something this time around. It has a chance at spawning the minigame roulette wheel from the minigame space, but only if it's been a couple turn cycles without a minigame having been played. Good job, green space, you did something. Landing on the heart space, which only appears in Bowser Party, will give +2 hearts to all players. If there's a player that's been knocked out of the game, then this will revive them with 2 hearts. All of this, along with the fact that there's seemingly no meaningful limit to how many hearts the players can have, makes this an incredible space to land on. If you're stuck choosing between landing on a -1 Bowser dice block space and a heart space though, then I would still prioritize hurting Bowser instead, but this space is definitely a close second. Landing on a lucky space in Mario Party mode will trigger an event that will allow you to earn mini stars. A common one has you going up to 3 brick blocks where you choose one to hit multiple times. One of them will contain 2 mini stars, one has 4, and the other has 6, with no way of knowing what contains what. Worst case scenario is you get 2, so not bad, but it could be better. The other lucky space events are board dependent and will be covered in their respective sections. In Bowser Party mode, it will always let you hit one of 3 blocks containing 0, 1, or 2 hearts for each player. Having a 1 in 3 chance of getting +2 hearts to each player makes this space objectively worse than the heart space, which guarantees +2 hearts to each player. It's still a nice space to land on, but not one to target over a heart space or a -1 Bowser dice block space. Landing on a minigame space will cause a block to appear above your head, which rotates between the minigame types of 1v Rivals, 2v2, and Free-for-all in that order if you're before the mid-boss, and 1v Rivals, Battle, 2v2, Battle, Free-for-all, Battle if encountered after the mid-boss. Not only is the order consistent every time, but the dice block itself rolls slow enough to time your jump for the type of minigame you want. Here's the mini-star distribution table for free-for-all minigames. Pretty straightforward. Here's the table for 1v Rivals minigames, which can only be played with at least 3 players. If the minigame ends up being a draw, then instead of doing a tiebreaker dice block roll like normal, they'll all get 4 mini-stars. Friendship wins! 2v2 minigames can only be played with 4 players and will always pair 1st place and 4th place together, and 2nd and 3rd together. The winning team will get 4 mini-stars each, but if the minigame ends up being a draw, then again, no tiebreaker, and everyone gets 4 mini-stars instead. Here's the table for battle minigames, where Hammer Bro forces everyone to put 5 mini-stars in the jackpot. If there aren't enough given, then Hammer Bro will make up the difference. Can I just say how absolutely pitiful the amount of mini-stars you get from winning a battle minigame here is? These are supposed to be a big deal, and yet 2nd place still gets a hefty chunk in most scenarios? Step up your game, Hammer Bro! If you're great at minigames and want to maximize your mini-star earnings while minimizing your opponents, then always target the 1v Rivals minigames, which will grant you 7 mini-stars for winning and nothing for your foes. Landing on a special dice block space will pop up a roulette block which has an assortment of different types of items, such as the 01, 1 through 3, 4 through 6, double dice, and slow dice blocks. Not every type of item will show up on every roulette, which sucks, but the roulette does roll slow enough for you to try and aim for what you want if you can manage the tricky orders. The best targets are items that roll twice in a row. Take your time. Arriving in a special event space will cut your space count short and throw you into a unique segment of the board, which we'll cover later. Landing on the steal space will have you first spin for which player is the target, and then you'll spin for what you steal. Both roulettes are technically timeable. It'll land on one space before the one you hit the block on. So for example, the instant I hit the block, it's on this space, which means the result I get will be this space, which was right before it. Timing this is hard though, because it's fast and this blur overlay that's on top of the roulette doesn't make things any easier. If you're able to see through the blur and lock in for your timing, then getting the player you want is possible. The second roulette has 2 5 mini-star, 2 10 mini-star, and 2 half of the player's mini-star results each. Each matching pair results are on the opposite side of one another, making it difficult to get what you want. Despite the quirkiness of this space, it's still an awesome one to land on. Worst case scenario is you get 5 mini-stars from the worst placing player, so long as they have at least 5, and that's not a bad outcome. Best case is getting half of a player's mini-star count when they have a ton of them, which is enough to catapult you ahead in the game. Target this space whenever you're able to. Landing on an unlucky space will cause something bad to happen. These events will vary depending on which board you're on, which we'll cover later. This title has 7 items referred to as special dice blocks for players to acquire. You can hold up to 2 items. If you land on a special dice block space and get a 3rd item, then you can get rid of one to make room. But if you enter an item house with 2 items, then you will not be allowed to earn a 3rd item, period, not even to replace any. However, if you were the captain when entering an item house, then only you will be given the ability to earn a 3rd item and replace any one you wish. Speaking of toad houses, they are now accessible by simply passing them, and when you do, everyone gets to go in and receive an item, which is done via the same spinning dice block roulette that special dice block spaces give you. The captain will be given a slower rolling dice block compared to everyone else, allowing them to target the item they want a lot easier. Let's go through each of the items, which are pretty straightforward this time around. 01 dice block only rolls a 0 or 1. Rolling a 0 still does not let you land on the space you're already on. Nothing will happen. Going nowhere can be great if you're trying to avoid running into an upcoming mini star ring, or if you're trying to unleash Bowser by rolling a 1 if you notice that a 1 hasn't been rolled yet on the gamepad. This is a new line of strategy you'll have to think about specifically for this title on whether or not you want to go for or avoid unleashing Bowser. You also have a 50% chance of rolling a 1, which is amazing if there's a particular space right in front of you that you wish to land on. Could be a lucky space, steal space, plenty of them, so don't sell this item short. 1, 2, 3 dice block only rolls 1, 2, or 3. Similar to the 01 dice block, it can be good for stalling or targeting one of the 3 spaces ahead of you. It can also ensure that you don't roll a 4, 5, or 6 to avoid waking up Bowser. Great when paired with a 4, 5, 6 dice block, which only rolls 4, 5, or 6. Same logic, different numbers. Having both types of dice blocks in your inventory lets you have the most options possible for choosing where you want to land. That is, if you don't have a slow dice block. This rolls from 1 through 6 at a slow rate. Watch for how slow it rolls so you know when to jump. This is arguably the best item in the game. Choosing which space to land on out of the 6 ahead is a massive advantage that you should not take lightly. If Bowser, or Toad if you're playing on Chaos Castle, is 1 roll away from release, then you can choose to release them whenever you want with this item. Check everybody's mini-star count, consider any dangerous board events, and find the right time to use this one for maximum benefit. Double dice block lets you roll 2 1 through 6 dice blocks. Unlike previous titles, you gain no bonus for rolling 2 of the same number. That's alright though, because with this, you can roll up to 12. With a number that high, you can potentially run through 2 mini-star rings in a row, or encounter 2 desired events in a row, such as the Dragon Eel treasures and Whimsical Waters. Keep on the lookout for spaces ahead, and only use this item if you're okay with traveling the distance. You should obviously avoid using it if there are any mini-star rings in your path. 1, 2, 3 slow dice block only shows up in Bowser Party mode. It has the effects of the slow dice block, but for numbers 1, 2, and 3, which is definitely a downgrade from the regular slow dice block, but can still be super useful in helping you land on a -1 Bowser dice block space or a +2 heart space. Just make sure rolling low on purpose like this will benefit you more than the chance at rolling high. If Bowser's right behind you, then I'd think twice. In Mario Party mode, everyone is in a vehicle together and takes turns moving the vehicle, collecting mini-stars along the path and earning them through board events or minigames. Whoever has the most amount of mini-stars by the end wins. After the first player rolls, Toad will know, look at the gamepad. The locks have all the numbers from the dice block. There are 5 more locks keeping Bowser in his cage. If they're opened, watch out. You can see here on the gamepad that yeah, the number the first player rolls will unlock that number here, and when a different number is rolled, that one gets unlocked too. The player that unlocks the last lock will release Bowser, who will take half of their mini-stars and then proceed to litter the board with Bowser spaces. Just in case you didn't catch that, only the player that releases Bowser gets punished, so any locks that get undone before that do not matter in terms of Bowser's having mini-star punishment. Avoiding this is as simple as using the proper item dice blocks to guarantee that you don't roll the last number, but the problem here is that you can't actually see which numbers these are on the main screen. All it shows you is how many blocks are remaining. To see which numbers those are, you've got to look at the gamepad, so make sure you can see it while playing so you know which numbers to avoid or go for. Cause let's be honest, having Bowser spaces can be great if you're in last place and have little to lose. If Bowser has not been freed by the time home stretch is reached, then he'll be sealed away and Junior will take over, adding his less threatening spaces on the board instead. On Chaos Castle, a Toad will be locked up in place of Bowser, where whoever frees him will get 20 mini stars as a reward, which is great. If the lock number gets to 3, the Knights start building up your item inventory to try and roll that last number so you get the goods. Home stretch is marked by a flag. Once it's reached, Toad will give a slow dice block to the player in last place. In Chaos Castle, this item gifting is replaced by Toad having everyone roll for an item as if everyone entered a Toad house, with the captain still getting a slower dice block than the rest. The type of minigame will still be determined by the captain rolling a dice block, but the exact minigame played will now be selected by whoever's in last place, chosen at random if there are multiple. It'll vary from game to game whether or not Bowser gets released and when. I won't go over every scenario since it's clear to avoid landing on his spaces whenever possible, unless you're in last where you have a chance at battling for mini-stars or Bowser Revolution. The battle for mini-stars logic applies to landing on a Bowser Jr. space as well. We've entered Mushroom Park. Here's the space lineup. Out of all the boards, it has the lowest total space count by quite a bit at 67, probably because this is the expected first board for you to play on. The first line of green spaces is nothing to comment on. Your group will go through many of these guys before coming across multiple lucky spaces in a row. Emphasis on luck because this event is all that. The first junction also has many of the same lucky spaces that do the same thing. Definitely worth it to land on if you can, but obviously avoid the mini star ring if you're headed that way. This is also where special dice blocks make their first appearance, and should you land on one, take your sweet time to recognize the pattern that they roll by, identify which item you want, ideally an item that appears twice in a row, and make a precise jump for it. We're now at the mid-boss, and if you're surprised by that, let me tell you that this board is less than half the length of Toad Road from Mario Party 9. Our journey here is short, so seriously, use your items even if there is a slightly good chance they will be useful, so that your item bonus star count goes up. Speaking of which, once the mid-boss is defeated, everyone will automatically enter the Toad House, again with whoever's the captain at the time getting the easier slow-moving dice block to better time for the item they want. This is a good spot to be in, but ideally you want to shoot for mini-stars on the board instead. If you land on this lucky space after the mid-boss, then you'll enter an event where you must watch your timing, speed up with the A button, in order to collect mini-stars that fall down the middle of the screen. If you see a large chunk of them starting to come down, then press A as you turn so that you're there in time to grab them. If you don't see much yet, then feel free to hold off on pressing A. Oh, and you may have noticed that your opponents join you on your own lucky space event, by the way. Sure, they're placed lower than you, determined by turn order, but they'll still gain mini-stars despite it being your event. Now check out this upcoming lucky space, which, guess what, does the same thing. You go in first, followed by the rest of the players in turn order, where you've got to watch your timing and jump with the A button to collect mini-stars on the roller coaster path. No matter how well you time your jumps in this event though, the other players will be able to nab the leftover mini-stars. The player in the back will be suffering the most so long as the players in front of them remember to jump. There are bundles of trio mini-stars scattered around until the very end, where there's a nice long lane of them for everyone to get a piece of. Everyone, even though you're the one that landed on the space. Oh, but surely this next lucky space will be different, right? What, are you kidding? Same deal as before. You first, with everyone else in turn order jumping for mini-stars, where you cannot grab them all and your opponents will get some on your event. These quirks make it really difficult for me to recommend them as great spaces to use your items for, but considering there aren't really any other options, this is what we've got. I'd say the bullet bill one is the best target considering it's kind of the most skill-based. This big blooper ride blocks the path and is holding a plate of nothing, 3, 5, and 10 mini-stars respectively. Whichever plate is in front of you when you jump is the one you'll land on and receive the reward of. No tricks here, just quick timing. This steal space is incredible and absolutely worth using an item to land on. This home stretch is in a great spot for last place since they can either use their slow dice block to avoid grabbing the 10 mini-stars up ahead and potentially have a threat take them, or they can make it so they do grab the 10 mini stars near the end, potentially shooting for the backspace there to get the 10 mini stars 2 times. Hopefully you've got an item or two that can help you do the same, or at the very least avoid landing on any of the Junior or Bowser spaces that may be lying about here. This backspace is one you truly want to avoid, since it'll have you flying it back into the mini star ring after you've already gone through it, essentially losing you the game in most runs. Overall, Mushroom Park is incredibly short and leaves a lot to be desired in terms of strategy, but even a single great item usage or two can leave you gaining lots of mini-stars over your opponents. Make sure you look out for these moments and outplay your foes in minigames to clinch the win. We've made our way to Haunted Trail. Here's the space lineup. Out of all the boards, it has the most balanced layout and ties for the most junctions out of them all. It's also a fair bit longer than Mushroom Park, and with the beginning here, it has special dice block spaces able to be landed on as early as the first roll, so we're already off to a great start in terms of having options. For this first junction, you should simply go whichever way lets you gain the most mini-stars, which will typically be left in this case unless you have a high roll at this point. Throughout this entire board, you'll see the brick block lucky spaces lying about. Only shoot for them if there's no better move to make. Once you go up the wall, you'll reach this purple boo space. Even so much as touching it will cause a boo to haunt whoever's the captain at the time. Every time it's that player's turn, including this one, the boo will steal 5 mini-stars from them. You need to avoid being the captain when this event occurs, so use your items to ensure your safety. Granted, there are boo spaces, such as the one up ahead, where if landed on will spawn that automatic roulette wheel we talked about earlier, passing the boo onto that player instead. This is your other go-to with an item if your initial plan doesn't work out. And hey, there's a toad house right behind this boo space too, so grab whatever's most useful to you at the moment here. You'll occasionally see unlucky spaces with bats flying around them. Landing on one will cause you to lose 5 mini-stars. Not awful, but still worth using an item to avoid. If you have a 1 on this junction, then head right to avoid the unlucky space. A 2 should have you going left for the lucky space unless you have a boo on you, in which case go right. If you've got a 3, then go right to screw over your opponent. A 4 or higher should have you going left to secure mini-stars. There's a 10 mini-star ring on this wall, which would be nice to get if you can, followed by the spotlight area, which will get rid of the boo from the vehicle, saving whoever it was on. Past the mid-boss, we've got lucky spaces that activate the tree button mashing event. You can get a max of 10 mini-stars from this if you're fast, as indicated by there being 10 mini-stars on him when you start the event. Oh, and these do reset when the event is over. This third junction is the most important one, so hopefully you're in charge at this point. Aside from your usual decision-making process of wanting to avoid landing on a Bowser or Bowser Jr. space, and wanting to land on lucky spaces, there's a boo on the left path and an item house on the right. If the player ahead of you is a big threat, then head left so they get haunted by the boo and lose mini-stars. Even if they're a little ahead of you, this is still a fine move. Only go right if you really need an item in your inventory and you wouldn't be hurt going that way. That being said, a boo shows up later on down the right path, but you'll likely not be the player in charge at this time unless others have items that slow down their movement. The left path also balances things out by having a lucky space event where you jump for mini-stars that circle around above you. There will be 10 in total as a sweet treat if you manage to land here. Each of the paths end up splitting again, where they each have a mini-star path and mini-star path like normal. Land on the boo space if you've got a boo on ya, avoid the unlucky spaces, and avoid the mini-stars. Pretty straightforward. Where these paths converge is the home stretch. If you're in last place, or just so happen to have a slow dice block, then use it to land on this backspace for a chance at farming the 10 mini-star ring on the wall here. These 2 steal spaces are great candidates too, not just for the slow dice block, but for a 1, 2, 3 or 4, 5, 6 dice block, since if they're within range, you'll likely have a 66% chance of landing on them. Overall, Haunted Trail's boo mechanic can change your game more than you think. Look ahead to how many spaces the boo is and where you can get rid of it if you happen to get haunted. Aim for the lucky spaces on this board, especially since, unlike Mushroom Park, they only give the player who landed on them mini stars, not everyone, so they'll be your light in the darkness. We've swam down to Whimsical Waters. Here's the space lineup. Out of all the boards, it has the most amount of Bowser Jr. spaces by default. Special dice blocks are now front and center with even the first few spaces containing them. The most notable aspect of this board are the Dragon Eel treasures, of which there's one pretty close by at the beginning. When you pass by this space, you'll encounter the event where you'll be told what possible prizes there are and how many chests contain them. In this case, there's one jackpot chest with 20 mini stars, 3 chests with 5 mini stars, and 2 chests with a slow dice block. The chests appear visually distinct, but this has no bearing on which one contains what. Like here, where the broken down wooden chest contains the jackpot. If the selected chest isn't the jackpot, then the remaining chest will move to the next Dragon Eel space, where the odds of selecting the jackpot chest will be higher since there's less to choose from. If you do get the jackpot chest, then Toad will reset the chest so that a jackpot is included in the next Dragon Eel space. These are always worth shooting for, especially since you don't even need to land on them to get the honor of choosing a chest. All junctions on this board have a Cheep statue in front of them, which will start spinning when encountered. Sure, the captain gets to choose when it stops, but this is essentially luck-based. There are no real decisions to be made at junctions this time around. But let's look at each path anyways. The blue path has the Dragon Eel event and Lucky Space brick blocks, which is nice. The other side has a ring of mini stars and a couple unlucky spaces which will lose your mini stars as well. After this junction is another Dragon Eel event, followed by an unlucky space next to a jar. These spawn a blooper that will get rid of all of your special dice blocks. If you don't have any, then nothing happens. So if you're coming up on this guy and there are some good spaces to land on anyways, then use your items. There's another Dragon Eel event here, and past the mid-boss, another one awaits. I cannot emphasize enough how good these are and how much you want to strategically position yourself to be the captain when encountering them. The second random junction can either lead you to the unlucky spaces on the right with that blooper event we talked about earlier, or these bone-dry, fishy guys that'll take away 5 mini stars from you. There's also an 8 mini star ring too. What a terrible path. The other one isn't equal in terms of impact since it's only got the break block lucky spaces and an 8 mini star ring. If only there was a Dragon Eel event here like before. But don't worry, there's a guaranteed one up ahead. After that, we drop down into the trench, and what I'd say is the most interesting part of the board. This is a big circle that you move around clockwise. There's a toad house for everyone to enter, but more importantly, the exit has a wall with a 4 on it. When approached, you roll a dice block, and if you get 4 or higher, then you proceed. A 3 or lower means you go back around in a circle, but the next time you reach this wall, it will automatically let you through. So you will either go around this circle once or twice. The bad part about that are these 3 unlucky spaces and the Bowser Jr. ones that you must avoid. The good part, the Dragon Eel spaces, which differ from the previous ones since you have to land on these in order to activate the event. This circle is where you should be using your items, either to avoid the bad or land on the good. After exiting this section, you'll encounter the home stretch, where you'll come across the final Dragon Eel event, followed by multiple steel spaces. These are your item targets if you still have any items left over from the circle area, but if you're able to land yourself on this backspace, then you can farm the 10 mini star ring multiple times. Just be careful because you'll be letting the opponent ahead of you get free 10 mini stars for themselves, so consider whether this bonus to you is better or worse than just landing on the steel space. Overall, Whimsical Waters takes away Junction Agency in exchange for more luck-based events found within the Dragon Eels. Hold your items for these events in particular and avoid the dastardly spaces you may come across on unlucky paths. We've flown up to Airship Central. Here's the space lineup. Out of all the boards, it has the highest amount of special dice block spaces and the highest total space count at 134, which is crazy. I remember when Western Land from Mario Party 2 had the highest space count for a board. The beginning grants some special dice block spaces, but the real gimmick of the board is that all airships ahead of the one you're on will swap with the one next to them, changing what spaces you may come across. This can be a big deal for gathering lots of mini stars for yourself and preventing threats from getting them instead. Always look ahead on your turn to see what possible ship can swap in and whether or not your item should be used to choose that destiny. You likely won't be using items on these first few unless everyone rolls ridiculously low. What'll probably happen is everyone just rolls past these, enters the Toad House for an item each, and now we're in business. Notice how there are 3 ships lined up in the middle here instead of 2. don't be thrown off. They'll swap how you expect, just taking longer to get to the third one. Notable spaces here are the unlucky ones with fuzzies next to them. These guys will take away 1 mini-star for how many fuzzies there are. There's also a lot of mini-star rings and mini-star rings scattered around. Did you notice that the purple ships contain the mini-stars with unlucky spaces and Bowser Jr.'s, whereas the golden ones contain large amounts of mini-stars with lucky spaces? The wooden ones, on the other hand, contain a few mini-stars but nothing much else. This is a clean, visual way to quickly assess whether a ship ahead is worth you waiting for or avoiding. We have a surprisingly early steel space on the board here that's a great target to land on using an item. Past the mini-boss, you'll enter the Stormy Clouds. From here on, Bowser's ship will fire a bullet bill at the spaces they're locked onto, not just a singular one. You'll lose half of your mini-stars if a bullet bill hits you. This is nuts. Your top priority in this section is avoiding all spaces with targets on them. If you can manage to get through this entire lane without getting hit, but a single opponent or 2 gets hit, then you'll be in a great spot to win the game. There's a 10 mini-star ring followed by a backspace here if you want to go for some greed, but I'd just dip out of here as quickly as possible, where you'll land onto this cloud ring with a big bad Bowser ship in the middle. It has 10 hit points. You'll notice all the cannon spaces around you, each complete with a number on them. Blue cannons deal 2 damage, golden ones deal 4. Landed one and you deal that much damage to the ship. Whoever gets the last hit, not the most amount of damage, the last hit will receive 10 mini-stars. You might be tempted to center your strategy around this, but I'd say it should be second priority. Top priority is avoiding landing on any of the unlucky spaces in this ring. Doing so will cause a bullet bill to launch and delete half of your mini-stars. Yeah, just like the bullet bill event from before, except a bit more sneaky here since Toad doesn't mention it. Your mini-stars getting cut in half when you're so close to the end here will essentially lose you the game unless your opponents suffer the same fate and or you've got bonus stars on lockdown. So look ahead and avoid these guys like the plague. If you're able to get the last hit on the ship while doing this, then that's a great bonus. After it's been defeated, you'll enter the home stretch. Not much to say for this final lane of spaces other than to avoid the usual Bowser or Bowser Jr. spaces and to target the steel space if you're able. Overall, Airship Central is a long journey of careful navigation around the deadly bullet bill events. If you can manage to avoid getting hit by one through strategic item usage, then you'll be in an amazing spot compared to your unfortunate opponents who get their mini-star counts chopped. We've been dropped into Chaos Castle. Here's the space lineup. Out of all the boards, it has the most unlucky spaces at 23. Understandable considering it's, a Bowser board and all. Right off the bat, Bowser will flat out tell you to look at the gamepad, showing a Toad locked up. Be the one to free him and you'll get 20 mini-stars, a delightful reward. The beginning is nicer than you think. You visit a Toad house within 10 spaces, so there's no excuses for not having an item this time around. But wait, there's a gap here. You've got to jump to cross it, but there are Potaboos that leap out of the lava below. If you touch one, then you'll lose 5 mini-stars, but you'll still be allowed to cross with your remaining spaces. Do not underestimate this event. Sometimes you can jump early to avoid these guys, but sometimes the order they jump in will be mean for a bit. Do not get pressured into jumping early. Take your time. The first junction's 2 paths are pretty close in value to one another. The main difference is one path offers mini-stars and the other mini-stars. Other than that, both have unlucky spaces, which will lose you 5 mini-stars when landed on, and both have minigame spaces. The lucky space on the top side helps balance things out a little bit compared to the bottom side's healthier offering of mini-stars. Up ahead, there's a backspace in front of an 8 mini-star ring. Land on this if you can to farm some mini-stars. Don't be afraid of the unlucky spaces behind it. Recall that you do not activate any spaces you land on after rolling backwards, so farm away. The second junction is a pretty clear choice. If you rolled a 6, then go down. Otherwise, head up so you can prevent your opponents from getting the 10 mini-star ring. The spaces afterwards are pretty standard, but should be avoided. Past the mid-boss is the second very vertical section of the board with multiple splitting paths. If a skewer hits you, you'll fall down to the bottom of the opposite path and lose 10 mini-stars. It's not half of your mini-stars, so not too bad, and getting sent to the bottom sounds like a punishment, but it actually hurts your foes more than you since their turns will be next. Each skewer will strike the space it's next to, indicated by the unlucky spaces. When at this junction, obviously avoid the skewers and green spaces. You want items, minigame spaces, and mini stars too. Regardless of which path you take, they'll converge at this toad house where you can stock up on items. This next junction is more important than the last since it has the cannon lucky space. Land on it and you'll launch between two cannons, collecting mini stars that fall down the middle. You can get around 20 mini stars alone from this, sometimes even more if you time your shots right. This is a huge boost and absolutely worth using your item on. By the way, if you land on the same skewer space a few times in a row, then it'll turn into a green space just like how a backspace would, so that you don't get stuck in the same part of the board. The end of each path has a surprise steal space if you can land on it, but again, prioritize the lucky space from before. Where the paths converge is the home stretch. Toad will not give out an item just to last place like usual, but instead treat this event as though everyone entered a Toad house. Once that's done, the doors to the third and final section will open, where Bowser will be awaiting your arrival at the very end. Bowser will attack each turn. You'll lose half of your mini stars if you're hit. You'll get hit by landing on any space with fire surrounding it. All of these spaces are the ones higher up, so to be safe, you want to end your turn on any space that's lower. It is absolutely critical that you avoid the fireballs. Do not let any other space stray you from your mission of absolute safety. Use any item you have on you at the right time. It is not worth landing on anything else unless you're already in last place and are hoping for a Bowser space to turn things around. Other than that, safety is your goal. While you encounter Bowser when you reach the end, you're still given the option of which boss to face, so long as this isn't your first time playing the board. Overall, Chaos Castle is a fun-filled, rainbow-like adventure full of wondrous surprises around every corner. Make sure to land on as many unlucky spaces as you can, and get blasted by the super cool Bowser's friendly fireballs at the end. Hey, who wrote this? Welcome to Bowser Party. This is a 1v4 mode where one player controls Bowser and chases the team of 4 players, called Team Mario, but I just call them the team, across the board. There are no mini stars here. They've been replaced with hearts. Bowser's win condition is to graciously get rid of all of the team's pesky hearts, while the team's goal is to reach the end and earn the star. Each turn begins with the team rolling one after the other like normal. After everyone's rolled, Bowser will get to roll 4 dice blocks in hopes of catching up. If he does, then he gets his chance to attack via a Bowser Battle minigame. One of 3 will be selected to play at random, where a 1v4 minigame will ensue with Bowser doing whatever he can to deplete the team's hearts. As Bowser, you might assume that you should spend an equal amount of time getting rid of every player's hearts, and while you can spend some time doing that, you usually want to target whoever has the lowest amount of hearts so that you can get them to 0. When that happens, they get knocked out of the minigame early, but more importantly, will get knocked out of the board. This means that the team will have one less player to roll a dice block, which will greatly increase their odds of catching up to them. The only downside here is that when it's a knocked out player's turn, they'll be allowed to roll an item dice block where whatever they land on will be gifted to the players still in the game. The team collectively shares 3 items, with any team member able to use any of the items from this shared inventory. There's also a special item only found in this mode, the 1-2-3 slow dice block. While not as powerful as the regular slow dice block, essentially selecting which space up to 3 ahead of you to land on is still fantastic. So if you end up getting knocked out by Bowser, then stay alert when it's your turn and focus on getting the slow dice block for your team. It's not completely over for you anyways, for if your team lands on a heart space, then everyone, including you, will be granted 2 hearts, bringing you back into the fray. While all of this is certainly annoying if you're Bowser, it's still worth knocking out weaker players when you can, so that their dice block roll ends up lower on average and easier for you to catch up. As Bowser, 4 dice blocks are your default roll, but this can be altered through various events. The team could land on the +1 Bowser dice block space, or get this event from a Bowser Jr. space, which gives you an extra dice block for a turn. Jr. will also grant you an extra dice block if the team is far away from you. Then we've got the -1 Bowser dice block space, which has you rolling 1 less dice block for a turn. Don't worry though, because as Bowser, you've got some tricks up your sleeve. If your roll isn't high enough to reach the team, then you'll be given the option to either stick with what you rolled, or do a reroll, which you must accept accept the outcome of, even if it ends up being lower than what you first rolled. I would only reroll if my first roll was below average. No point in getting greedy and going for a reroll if my first roll would have put me only a few spaces before the team. The last thing we want is to accidentally go less spaces than we would have otherwise. See this icon on the top right? It lets you know which mode Bowser is in. There's 3: normal, angry, and big bad Bowser mode. Bowser will always start off normal. These are the minigames that show up when Bowser is normal, and these are the ones that show up when he's angry or in big bad Bowser mode. Yeah, the devs purposely designed some of the minigames to be more in Bowser's favor for whenever he's angry. So how do we accomplish that? If Bowser does not reach the team after rolling, re-roll or not, he'll get angry. If during a minigame at least one player did not take any damage, Bowser will get angry or remain angry. If all players did take damage but no one got knocked out, then Bowser will get angry or remain angry. This doesn't seem to happen when a minigame is played while there are players already knocked out. They can play perfect and he won't get angry. Obviously, we want to keep Bowser angry so we get more minigames in our favor. If you knock out a player, then try to ensure that at least one other player isn't injured so you remain angry. If you've dealt damage to everyone already, then you can refrain from knocking someone out to remain angry as well. You might prefer just getting certain players out of the game regardless if Bowser's anger is quelled or not. I leave that up to you. When the team reaches the home stretch, Toad will not give them anything, actually. He'll just say, hey, the goal's close by, good luck. Well, thanks for nothing, Toad. Whereas Bowser Jr. will let you roll the untimable roulette, where he'll either add Bowser Jr. spaces on the board, give Bowser an additional dice block, or make it so Bowser enters the aforementioned Big Bad Bowser mode. This has the same effects as him being angry, what with the more difficult minigame selection, with the added effect of letting the Bowser player choose which of the 3 difficult minigames they want to play. This is bonkers. If you're good at these minigames as the Bowser player, then you can unleash some absolute terror upon them the next time you catch up to them. Definitely the best case outcome. When the team makes it to the Midway Fortress, they'll have to take turns rolling a dice block to reduce the Womp's health from 6 to 0. They'll be stuck doing this task until it's defeated, and when it is, they'll each receive 3 hearts. If the team makes it to the end, it's not over. The Bowser player will hide the star within one of 3 characters, and the captain at the time will choose which one they think has it. If they're right, they win the game, but if they're wrong, then they get sent back some spaces. When talking about the boards for this mode, I won't be speaking from the Bowser player's perspective that much, since the only strategic option they have on the board is whether or not they should re-roll and some board events. That's it. So we'll be focusing a lot more on the team. We're back at Mushroom Park, Bowser Party Edition. Here's the space lineup. Out of all the boards, we're talking Bowser Party now, this one's the shortest, meaning it's the one that the team is most likely to win on, considering there are not enough negative spaces listed here for the Bowser player to enjoy. When running from Bowser, keep a close eye on how many spaces you are from him, and keep track of how many dice blocks he can currently roll. An average roll with 4 dice blocks will be around 14, so try and keep ahead of that number whenever you can. This initial stretch of spaces is all about collecting special dice blocks. Keep on moving forward until you reach the first junction. Both routes have upsides and downsides. You want to try and avoid the route with Bowser Jr. on it if you can, but if you're about to land in an item space there, then things balance out a bit. Just do your best to drive past him. Past the fortress, there's another junior space ahead, which you should really try and avoid if you can. Remember, this guy can do things like launch you back 5 entire spaces, making it so much easier for Bowser to catch up. The Blooper merry-go-round will have 8 hearts on a plate, 4 hearts on another, and 2 plates containing nothing. These hearts will be evenly distributed amongst all the players, so I hope whoever's doing the jump knows to time it when the desired plate just gets in front of them. Once you reach the home stretch, Toad will give you nothing, but Junior will help Bowser in a way. Regardless of what happens, if you have a healthy sum of hearts, then beeline it for the end as quickly as possible while avoiding the junior spaces. These are designed to obliterate your heart count to make it so Bowser essentially one-shots you when he gets one of his harder minigames. Don't give up even if you're alone. Your teammates will be giving you lots of items, so take your time figuring out which one is the best to use as you make your your way towards victory. Overall, Bowser Party's Mushroom Park is definitely the easiest one to win as the team due to its short length compared to other boards, allowing them to blitz to the end and win so long as they cruise through a few of the Bowser minigames. I would not go here as the Bowser player. We've swam back down to Whimsical Waters, Bowser Party Edition. Here's the space lineup. Out of all the boards, this one has the most number of backspaces and +1 Bowser dice block spaces. Its increased length compared to Mushroom Park makes this one a bit dicier, but let's see what we've got. The first line of spaces has a bunch of items for the team to obtain, but the biggest difference here is that there is no Dragon Eel event for them to enjoy, just these spaces. The first junction is a little weird. One path is clearly awful for the team with multiple backspaces and +1 Bowser dice block spaces, whereas the other path is clearly great for them with a -1 Bowser dice block space, a heart space, and some boost spaces. This might very well be the most obvious path choice in any Mario Party title. Past this junction is the one and only Dragon Eel treasure event. See, it's not gone after all. Here the possible rewards are 2 hearts for everyone, 1 heart for everyone, a slow dice block, and fish bones, which take away hearts from the current captain. A brutal punishment that you'll hopefully manage to avoid. The second junction has both of its paths obscured. Like the first junction, one path is great for the team and one is not. The Bowser player knows which path is which and can draw on the gamepad during this part to try and trick the team into going down the bad path. As the Bowser player, what you do will obviously depend on whether or not you think your opponents will fall for a regular bait by drawing happy faces on the bad path or a double bait by drawing happy spaces on the good path. It'll come down to how cheeky everyone is. Past the mid-boss is another Dragon Eel space for goodies and the final junction of the board with the same logic as the second path. Hope you take the good one and dash forward or minus a dice block from Bowser. The lower section has changed a lot from the Mario Party version, where instead of going in circles and having to deal with the wall, you essentially go in a straight line with a pass-by Dragon Eel event here instead of the one that you land on. It's also the last one the team encounters. This section has multiple junior spaces in a row that you should use an item to avoid if possible. Same goes for these junior spaces nearing the end. Overall, Whimsical Waters has some luck-based events that may or may not play out in each team's favor. Out of the 3 boards, I'd say this is the most balanced one for the 2 teams. We've re-entered Chaos Castle, Bowser Party Edition. Here's the space lineup. Out of all the boards, this one is most definitely in favor of the Bowser player, both due to its length and other factors we'll get into closer to the end. But the funny part, this space count is actually quite a bit lower than the Mario Party version, and the beginning of the board essentially begins at a junction, so the devs definitely tried to tone it down to make things easier for the team, but as we'll soon see, it wasn't enough. Right off the bat, Toad will let you know that these unlucky spaces will half your heart count, so we want to avoid those. And unfortunately, there's a lot of green spaces in this opening section, but ignore them. We still have this Podoboo jump event, which now makes it so if you get hit, then you stop moving any remaining spaces, which is way worse than simply losing hearts. Make sure the captain at the time takes their time when jumping past these. Further on, you want to be smart with your items. If you see any unlucky spaces ahead, don't take any chances. Use what you have to avoid them. The heart spaces are great to land on by accident, but I would sincerely avoid slowing down for them. You want as much distance as possible from Bowser in this gauntlet. The few spaces before the Womp are deadly. You should be using an item here to pass by safely. Past the Womp, you'll enter the second section, where Bowser sets some traps. If you get hit, you'll lose half of your hearts. I'm gonna ask you, what do you think this means exactly? Now, maybe I just got confused with the wording, but when Toad said this, I first assumed that the traps he's referring to are all the burners on the wall. If my team lands on any of these burner spaces, the captain loses half hearts. Those are the traps, right? But no, what's actually going on is the Bowser player can only make 4 of these 7 burners active, whereas the remaining 3 burners will be inactive. The team will not be able to tell which is which until they've landed on one, where it'll then be revealed if it was active or not. This detail is not made clear to the team, and they're probably going to assume that all the burners are active, in which case it should be easier for the Bowser player to know which direction they'll go based on their roll. If they can safely enter the left path, they'll likely go that direction, and the Bowser player should set all of their traps there. But if the team can safely enter the right path, then they'll likely go that direction, and the Bowser player should set the traps there instead. Or if Bowser's lucky, the team will talk about which way they're gonna go as the Bowser player is setting the traps, since they don't know how this unintuitive event works. But if they do know how it works, then Bowser should turn on the 2 burners on top of item spaces and then activate the rest of the burners on whichever path is more optimal for the team based on what their role was. If you're on the team, then go left if you can safely land there for more goodies. If not, then head right. Unless the team's been playing pretty good up until this point, I imagine a player or 2 may already be out, which means there's a good stock of items available. This is when you'll want to use them to land on any of the heart spaces ahead at the second wall junction, where the Bowser player can only activate 6 out of the 10 burners. Same logic as before, where if the team is unaware of how this works and can't safely go left, or just too afraid of all the burners, then activate all burners on the quote-unquote safe right path while activating a couple item space ones on the left path just in case. If the team is aware of how it works, then I'd activate all the item space burners and then whichever green space you're feeling. No free items in this house. As the team, if you are down players, then aim for the heart spaces on the left path to try and bring your buddies back. The more teammates in play you've got, the more spaces you can move. Otherwise, the right path is a lot safer, especially if you have items to avoid the potential burners. Now, if you thought to yourself, man, the team hasn't been suffering enough, then the game's got you covered. The third and final section has Bowser immediately catch up to 1 space before the team, no matter how far behind he was. He'll then fuse all of his dice blocks into a single large dice block that rolls 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a Bowser icon, which when rolled, lets Bowser instantly catch up to the team no matter how far away they are. And now he gets to roll after each teammate rolls instead of having to wait for the whole team to roll, which increases the odds even further that he'll catch up. Oh, and I hope you didn't forget about the end where you've got to luckily choose the right enemy that has the star, cause that's here too. The only thing that balances out Bowser here, even a little bit, is that Bowser Jr. does not give him a bonus via roulette like he does on Mushroom Park and Whimsical Waters. Even he knows that there should be limits to villainy. With how likely it is for Bowser to catch up and be angry during this final stage of the board, you and your team better have a healthy amount of hearts going into this, because you're gonna suffer an onslaught of Bowser minigames that I hope you're ready for. Overall, Chaos Castle is where you want to be if you're playing Bowser, and where you want to avoid if you're on the team. But if you're caught there in the car, then take your time navigating the many board events that are out for your souls by communicating with your teammates and using items accordingly. This title has 71 minigames that all have a chance to pop up when considering both Mario Party mode and Bowser Party mode. There's 31 free-for-all minigames, 10 1v Rivals minigames, 10 2v2 minigames, 10 boss minigames, and 10 Bowser minigames. Free-for-all minigames, here's their distribution table. Balance Ball Brawl, roll over all the switches. If no one rolls over any switches within 2 minutes, everyone gets last. There will always be 7 buttons. Rolling over one will light up a corner of it in your color, so you won't forget what you've already rolled on. Roll on them all to win. Bumping into players is annoying here if you want to take a certain path, so I recommend finding alternate routes whenever possible. There are 4 arena variations. formations. These two horizontally oriented ones are similar, where moving left and right is easy, and you can switch to other routes by quickly moving up and down. These two vertically oriented ones are similar too, where each one has respective corner switches that are a commitment to get to. Only begin rolling down these paths if you know you can get to the switch without opposition. I mentioned this one operates on motion controls, right? Make sure you're tilting your Wiimote around corners quickly and roll the maximum speed, chaining close by switches while avoiding everyone else. Balloon Blast Bash. Pump up your balloon, if it pops, you're out. Specifically, everyone's balloon will be given the same random number from 22 to about 33. If they pump to that random number, then their balloon will explode and they'll lose the minigame. The different balloon visuals mean nothing. Since 22 is the minimum number it can be before popping, shake your Wiimote and count up how many inputs your character does up to 21. Once you're there, stop. Check other players' balloons and line the top of them up with your own. If they're higher, then pump again to match their height. Multiple players can get first place in this minigame, so there's no problem with you tying with others here. The only way to lose this way is if an opponent does one pump above yours at the last second. This will either cause them to pop or win the minigame, since you won't have enough time to match them. I wouldn't recommend you do this, since again, you can win together. Beeline Shrine. Jump with 2 button, don't get hit. The winner is whoever has the most hearts out of 3 by the end. Lose all 3 and you're out. The bees have many different formations that they'll choose from at random. The trio formation has many bees in lines of 3s drop down from the edges of the arena and fly in a straight line. Easy to jump over as they make their way towards you. The plus formation has the bees coming in from directly left and right, meeting in the middle, then heading up and down to make a plus symbol, where they'll then rotate either clockwise or counterclockwise. Just stick to running along the outer part of the arena. The semicircle has the bees form a semicircle on the perimeter of the arena, beginning on either the top or bottom half of it, where they'll then move in a straight line back and forth. Super straightforward, with only a couple jumps needing to clear this one. Where things get a little tricky are these next two formations. The first is the circle, where the bees make a circle along the entire perimeter, then slowly close into the middle. You can either stay in the middle to be safe here, or better yet, simply jump outside their circle. On its own, this one's pretty easy. The problem is that this next one also begins with the bees making a circle along the entire perimeter, but then they suddenly turn inward, making 2 small circles like an infinity symbol, and then moving clockwise or counterclockwise. You're best off being in the center of any of the 4 quadrants and then reacting appropriately to what they do for a sweet finish. Blooper Blastoff. Bloop to the surface with the 2 button. If 5 minutes passes, then whoever doesn't reach the line at the top gets last place. The motion control tilting left and right might be scary, but this one goes by pretty quick. The torpedoes are the most clear obstacle. Hit one and you'll get knocked away for a second, losing you precious time. If you propel into a current from one of the pipes, then you'll get quickly moved away from it, increasing your odds of touching a torpedo. You want to maximize how fast you propel by holding 2, letting go, holding 2 again, rinse and repeat, at the rate you see me do here. Keep your sub angled as straight up as you can while making turns so that you can maximize the distance you go when reaching for the surface, and you'll find yourself nabbing a speedy victory. Bob-omb Bogey. Swing fast, don't hit the Bob-ombs. Every player is given the same layout. Each round a golf ball or a Bob-omb will quickly pop up in front of you. If it's a golf ball, then hit it quickly. The first player to hit their golf ball will get 50 points, second gets 30, third gets 20, and fourth gets 10. If it's a Bob-omb, then ignore it and it'll go away. But if you accidentally hit it, then you'll lose 50 points. A huge punishment. Once 10 golf ball rounds pass, the game is over and whoever has the most points wins. A Bob-omb can show up 2 times in a row, but no more than that. So when a second one in a row goes away, get ready to immediately swing on the guaranteed golf ball for an easy 50 points. Bob-omb Combo. Point and throw with the A button. Start a chain reaction. Each player gets 1 turn to throw a Bob-omb in a crowd of 80 moving Bob-ombs. Your Bob-omb's initial explosion will light up any surrounding Bob-ombs, making them explode, and so on and so on until this chain reaction eventually ends. The Bob-omb count will reset back to 80 on each player's turn, and everyone's layout of moving Bob-ombs will be different from one another, introducing a bit of a luck factor. Do not immediately throw your Bob-omb when it's your turn. Wait a second to see where a bunch of Bob-ombs clump up, then throw your Bob-omb in the middle of that clump for the largest first explosion possible. After this, luck takes the wheel, but hopefully the big initial spark was enough for it to spread out to as many Bob-ombs as possible around the arena. Reverse minigame version. Here you want to get the least number of Bob-ombs to explode, so when it's your turn, wait until you see a small amount of Bob-ombs near one of the corners, then let her rip in that spot, hopefully exploding next to nothing for the smallest score possible. Bouncy Brawl. Spin by repeatedly pressing the 2 button. Bump other players off the platform, and don't get dizzy. Yeah, that's a good point, but a little vague. So when you tap the 2 button, you'll see yourself spinning a bunch. This is good. It means you can bump into other players and send them away from you, hopefully out of the arena where they'll be out of the minigame. But if you press the 2 button too fast, then you'll see the wind around your character turn dark, which is your warning to slow down. If you don't listen, then you'll get dizzy and remain stunned in the same bouncing spot for a few seconds, which is a death sentence to any opponent who's paying attention. Tap 2 at a moderate pace and stick to the middle of the arena at all times during the beginning of the minigame where all the players are still in. Once a player or 2 gets out, then feel free to predict your opponent's movements and keep the pressure on as you knock them away. Just make sure you're pressing 2 at a respectable pace while doing this and you'll have an edge up. Cheep, cheep, leap. You're invincible. Jump with the 2 button and hit the cheep cheeps. Regular cheep cheeps are worth 1 point, larger ones are 2, and goldens are 3. Usually in a minigame like this one, your goal would be to avoid the cheep cheeps, but it's a bit of a role reversal here. You want to jump into as many of them as possible. You're given a lot of time to prepare for them since they spawn far off in the distance. They'll always move in a straight line, but the pattern of cheep cheeps may end up being horizontal, requiring you to move left and right to hit them. Avoid this type of pattern and focus on the straight line of cheep cheeps pattern, where if you jump as soon as the first cheep cheep jumps out towards you, you'll nail many cheep cheeps in a row. Big ones might grab your attention due to their size, but they're only 2 points. You can easily make that up by targeting the lanes. Golden ones are a different story though, and should be targeted. It ain't nice running into players here, but even if you end up bouncing on their heads, you'll still run into cheep cheeps. There's not even any stun time if you get bounced on since you're invincible. Always be at the front of the platform so that you hit cheep cheeps as early as possible and ensure that you reach the lanes of cheep cheeps first. Cliffside Crisis. Stand on the bombs, jump with the 2 button. Falling off means you're out. Both the top and bottom rows of bombs can slide in and out. The top row can push you off, whereas the bottom row can cause you to fall by having nowhere left to stand. Despite this feeling like it might be difficult, the minigame isn't fast enough nor complex enough to challenge you in any meaningful way. You're kinda just walking around, and whenever you see a bomb shake under you or beside you, that's an easy run away from danger. The most tricky it'll ever get is when you're running from a pair of bombs that has one moving to another pair of bombs that has one moving. In this case, if you just run to the other, you'll likely either get pushed off or fall into a hole. Here, you'll want to jump as you move to the next spot so you aren't caught off guard. I'd recommend jumping between moving bombs all the time so that you have a good habit built up. Jumping in others' heads doesn't do much in terms of hurting them, but if you jump on their head either while they're already in the air or just do one on the ground while not rubbing up against a bomb, then you'll have enough height to land on the top row of bombs for extra safety. Granted, this minigame is not difficult enough to warrant this strat, so doing this is more for fun, but it's pretty cool. Dice and Dash. Jump with the A button to enter the item code and unlock the door. The items you have to enter will be the same every time: mushroom, fire flower, and green shell. You can enter these in whichever order you like. It does not have to be top to bottom. When the minigame starts, mash the A button to get the earliest item possible, the mushroom. Wait for Bowser to pass, then as soon as the green shell starts passing, press A to easily get the fire flower. As soon as the mushroom is done passing, press A to get the green shell. Each successful hit causes the block to speed up, but the strat I just told you is meant to account for that. Hitting a Bowser icon will stun you for a moment and will slow down the block. Flash forward, get on the platform and hold a pose for the camera. There's only one round. Whoever wins is the person who gets the most points, which is determined by whether or not you're on the platform, which direction you're facing, and if you're posing. The highest score is 10, done by directly facing the camera and posing. As your character turns more and more away from the camera, the fewer points you'll earn. Not posing is a -2 to what we just talked about. To pose, you need to not make any inputs for half a second, which sounds easy enough, but you can punch others away for a short stun or ground pound them for a couple seconds worth, which is critical in a 10-second one-round minigame like this. I'd opt in for playing passively for the first 7 seconds or so that you aren't targeted by other players. This time is just for screwing around. It's the last few seconds that really matter, which is when you should be against the podium, punching towards it to knock players away, then jump onto it, face the camera, and pose for a full 10 points. Foo Me Once, remember the buttons. The layout is different every time. You'll be shown 7 buttons in a row. The possible buttons they can be are 2, 1, and A. After you're shown the 7 buttons, they'll be hidden, and you and your opponents will go round by round selecting each button. You win by being the last one standing by the end. The same button can occur twice in a row. Other than that, this is a pretty straightforward memory minigame. I personally like bunching things into rhythmic combos. So instead of 1A, 2A, 1, 2, 2, it's 1A2, A1, 2, 2. Your mileage may vary depending on what memorization strat you take. Each round is 3 seconds long, which on its own doesn't sound like a big deal, but if you're confident that you have the order down, then you can wait out the timer every round to make the minigame last longer and increase your opponent's odds of forgetting the order. You can also repeat out loud the wrong order to screw people up, but then you'll get thrown off cloud 9. Found it? Pound it! Ground pound any images that match the screen. There are 3 rounds. The first round's image will be 2x2, the second rounds will also be 2x2, and the third round will be 3x3. The first correct button that's ground pounded will award 3 points, the second will be 2, and the third will be 1. You can absolutely get all of these points, by the way. Don't stop after just getting 1. I like looking for multiple objects in a row or column since they're easier to recognize at a glance when scouring the floor. As soon as you see it, go for the ground pound. If you're wrong, then you'll get stunned for a second, which ain't great, so make sure you scour optimally. But of course, we've got to talk about the ever so helpful strategy in preventing opponents from ground pounding an image you want, the butt block. Just jump into them while they're airborne, and even if they're in the middle of a ground pound, they'll just bounce right off ya. The butt block never fails. Fruit Cahoots, vote to go with the A button or to stop with B button. Get some apples. Multiple players can win. An apple is worth 1 point. 3 apples are worth 3, and a Bob-omb will -1 point. There are 7 rounds with whoever getting the most points wins. A single vote to go means that the conveyor will move 1 spot over. So with 4 players, the max spots the conveyor can move is 4 spots, and what do you know, you can see up to 4 places ahead to know what would be given and to who. You can even see a little further than that, but just focus on the 4 for now. This one's all about quickly recognizing what each of your opponent's safe moves are, and then deciding if you voting or not will keep you safe. Like here, I want the triple apples. I see Luigi has a Bob-omb in front of him. I'd say that most of the time, if a player has a Bob-omb in front of them, they're more likely to press the button for a movement. With that in mind, I'd press the button here to at the very least avoid the Bob-omb being in front of me. Whether or not Wario or Waluigi press a button feels a bit more luck-based since they're trying to decide whether they want to go for these triple apples or try and avoid the Bob-omb in front of them. My button press here happens to get me the triple apples, which is great, but it easily could have led me to getting a single apple instead. This situation, where there's alternating Bob-ombs and apples, is way more luck-based, but again, I'd bet on players with a Bob-omb in front of them pressing the button. I'd also assume Luigi would press it here to not only avoid the Bob-omb in front of him, but to hopefully get the triple apples for himself. Waluigi is the one I'd say is a bit more up in the air. Here, he presses the button with everyone else, but I could easily see him not. We happen to get triple apples, thankfully. This last scenario we'll look at has alternating Bob-ombs later on, which I'd say just screws everything up. A single input affecting whether or not you'll be safe will have players doing whatever, so me getting bob-ombed here is not a surprise to me. All the strategy I'm talking about is in a vacuum though. Realistically, your foes will show patterns for what they pick or joke around on their selection. Listen carefully and factor that into your decision. Reverse minigame version, where whoever gets the least amount of points wins. In this case, you're avoiding triple apples and aiming for bob-ombs. Getting a single apple is perfectly fine, you can't always get a bob-omb, you just want to avoid triple apples using the same strategies we talked about, just with this new goal in mind. Fruit of the Doom, get fruit, jump with the 2 button, avoid the urchins. All fruit is worth 1 point, getting hit by an urchin loses you 3 points. All fruit and urchins will drop from the top part of the arena where the waterfall is and float down to the bottom where they'll fall off. You do see shadows, but it's hard to distinguish between an urchin and a fruit quickly unless one of the big urchins is dropping. Always be close to the shadows, but avoid being directly under any of them. This way, if it's a fruit, you're the first one to grab it, and if it's an urchin, you can avoid it. I wouldn't run after any fruit that's headed down, since your run speed is barely faster than it. Unless you're already pretty close, your time is better spent positioning yourself closer to the waterfall for any other fruits that drop down. When you get hit, you do lose 3 points as said before, but 3 fruit will fly out of you as well for other players to pick up. If you notice a player get hit, then be the first one to gather these fruits, and if that unlucky player is you, get their hands off your fruits and take it back. Once the game hits 5 seconds, urchins will stop dropping and fruit will fall from the sky all over the place, not just where the waterfall is anymore. Jump as much as you can as you move around so that you can collect these fruit before they even touch the ground. Fruit, scoot, scurry. Collect lots of fruit. Each fruit is worth 1 point, doesn't matter what kind it is, but if you see 3 of a fruit, then they're worth 3 points. You can only move up, down, left, and right to jump between platforms. If someone's already on a platform when you try jumping to it, you'll bounce back to the platform you were on. Prioritize open spaces that other players aren't at so you don't have to compete for the same fruit, as well as looking out for trios of fruit and giving up if you notice another player will reach them before you. You may assume that controls-wise, you'd have to tap each time you want to move, but that's not the case. You can hold down a direction and your character will keep jumping in that direction as soon as they land, letting you move faster than players that assume they have to tap for each movement. Fuzzy Fliers, collect clouds and head for the top. Everyone's cloud starts at 30 seconds and begins counting down. If your cloud gets to 0, you're out. You increase your cloud's timer by touching one of the floating clouds. If it's a smaller one, you get plus 3 seconds. A larger one is plus 7 seconds. But then you've got the fuzzies. Touching any of them, big or small, will lose you a flat 3 seconds. There's 3 different movement types fuzzies can have. The first type are still fuzzies, not connected to anything. Okay, yeah, maybe they're not still because it's an auto-scroller, but you get the idea. They're still relative to everything else. The second type is fuzzies on rails with endpoint balls attached to them. These ones will repeatedly move back and forth between these endpoints, so the moment you see a rail, you know some are coming. The third type is fuzzies on rails without endpoint balls attached. They'll move along the rail the way you'd expect, but then fly off the rail and let physics take over from there, like falling right back onto the rail and continuing its path. Regardless of which type of fuzzies you come across, you've got to focus on keeping your cloud timer up. The clouds that appear don't always come in from the top. They'll often fly in from the sides close to the bottom too, so you can stay down here too if you'd like. Once the minigame nears its end, indicated by seeing these 2 toads one after another, make your way to the absolute top of the screen, because it's first person to cross the finish line wins. Reverse minigame version. Ignore all clouds and run into fuzzies as quickly as possible. You'll know they're coming when you see their tracks, so stay on top of them. It feels counterintuitive, but if a cloud appears, you want to bump the biggest threat into it if you can. Goomba Gallop, pick the biggest group. After watching all the Goombas, Galoombas, and Goombrats exit the screen, you'll click on which one you think there were more of. First one to answer correctly gets 5 points, second gets 3, third gets 2, and fourth gets 1. If you answer wrong, you get 0 points. There are 2 rounds. The first round, they'll all be strolling down in a straight line, with one occasionally tripping. It's just meant to throw you off. The one that ends up winning will typically do so by a margin of about 3 more than second place. This is pretty significant, so I trust trust your intuition. If while you're watching you get the sense that you're seeing one type more than another, trust it. On the other hand, if you feel like one type hasn't shown as much, trust that too and exit out from your decision. When it comes time to make a selection, do so as fast as possible, even if you're not 100% sure. There's not really a point in waiting to make a selection unless you are truly clueless on the answer and wish to copy another player that you think knows the answer. The second round has all of them running to the right with this dude that flies by to obscure your vision. While I think the devs intended for this round to be harder, I actually think it's made easier because you can see the large group from a higher perspective at once. When you see all of them clumped up like this, do not try to count them, you don't have enough time. Quickly scan around and again trust your instincts on what's showing up more and quickly make a selection for the win. Goomba Gotcha! Point quickly, tag him with the A button. Before the minigame begins, it'll show you the target enemy. This target will appear way less often than the other two in the large amounts that appear on screen. Your job is to spot the target and press A on them for a point. If you choose the wrong enemy, you lose a point. There are many areas that the enemies can walk out from. Top left here, the top left tunnel, top right behind the tree, top right tree hole, top right over here, the bottom hole of the tree, and the bottom left tunnel. They don't walk out of these spots all at the same time. Some spots will randomly deactivate with the other ones being active. If you notice a spot has nobody walking out, ignore it, move on to the others. Either a line of enemies are walking out or they're not. There is no in between. There are a few spots where you'll see a single enemy pop out since there's only room for one enemy to be there, but we're talking about the main areas. Only a line of enemies will walk out from those. You want to focus on the enemies as soon as they arrive on screen, not the ones around the middle of it. Do this and you'll nab points really fast. If enemies are walking in a straight line towards the camera and there's a target enemy in the back of the line, your cursor will prioritize hovering over the target enemy instead of the non-targets in the front. This is great news. It means you don't have to stress about making a wrong selection in lines like these. Also, if an enemy goes on the teeter-totter and another one hops on the other side, it will launch the first one way into the air. I slide, you slide. Run, jump, and slide to the goal. When you come across a snowball, shake your Wiimote to jump over it. When you come across a Fliprus, hold B to slide under it. You can hold B for as long as you want, even under multiple Flipruses. If there are multiple snowballs in a row next to one another, then keep shaking your Wiimote. Your character will automatically jump at the next possible moment, doing a double jump and even a triple jump if you keep it up. If you jump into a Fliprus, then you'll get stunned backward for a moment. Same is true if you try sliding into a snowball. You will slowly catch up over time after a stun, but the reason this is bad in the long run is during the final stretch, where the faster you shake your Wiimote, the faster your character will run, so whoever's made the least mistakes during the main section will have the greatest advantage here. Ensure that you're paying attention to which obstacle is coming up, make the appropriate move to dodge it, then shake your Wiimote as fast as you can for the goal. Pretty easy. Magma Meltdown. Get off the sinking rock platforms. If you touch the lava, you're out. You cannot jump, even though it feels like you should be able to. When a platform shakes, that means it'll begin slowly descending. This is when you want to move to a platform that isn't sinking. From seconds 30 to 20, it'll be obvious which platforms are safe since they'll already be up by the time the one you're on is about to sink. But from seconds 20 to 10, it becomes less obvious, with the safe platforms having just risen from the magma, so you've got to react a bit quicker. The final 10 seconds are the deadliest, where the platform you're on will already be on its way sinking as soon as the safe platforms begin rising. It's here especially where you want to search for puddles of magma forming and get ready to run onto them as soon as possible, because if you're too late, then you'll sink too low and get knocked out. Body blocking exists in this minigame, but I'd rather not and focus on surviving instead. Meanie Match. Grab an enemy with A button and drag it to its place. You'll see a color wheel with 12 colors that all nicely blend together in order. You'll also see an enemy along with an icon of it on top of each color, where you'll be given 15 seconds to remember the enemy's placements. After time is up, a random turn order will be decided, and each player will take turns selecting whichever enemy in the middle they like and attempting to place them in the right spot. If they're correct, they move on to the next round, but if they're wrong, they're out. As you can imagine, this one can last a while if you and your foes manage to exhaust all enemy placements. Let's see what we can do here. When it comes to memorizing each enemy's placements, You could take a picture of this screen and cheat like that instead, I guess. But then you'll make me sad. Do you want that? Do you want me to be sad? Don't answer that. If you're all playing legit, then take a moment to ask yourself what your opponent's favorite colors are. There's a decent chance that they'll prioritize memorizing the enemies that are on their favorite color and the ones next to it. So if, for example, you know that your foe's favorites are blue and green, then prioritize memorizing the yellow and red enemy placements. Other than that, there are lots of memorization methods you can choose from. From a starting point of your choosing, going clockwise, you can simply repeat the enemy's names in your head in order, repeat the first letter or two of their names in order, perhaps come up with a mini story in your head with the order, stuff like that. Ultimately, you really want to avoid memorizing the same exact set of enemies as your foes, so pay attention to any of them saying out loud what they'll focus on, cheekily hinting at it, or if they're obviously looking a certain direction, and do your best. Paintball Battle. Shoot with the 2 button. The layout is the same every time. Everyone begins with 3 hearts, and when all are gone, you're out, meaning that this is a survival minigame, not a point-based one, which also unfortunately means that the most optimal way to play this minigame is defensively to ensure that you have the most hearts by the end. Your shots travel a little over half the distance of the map. If your shot collides with another player's, they'll cancel out. Do not get into a spamming war to get a shot off on them unless there is no one else around you. The last thing you want is to be down a heart while another opponent is playing defensively. You want to be that opponent. Keep moving to areas where no players are and use cover to your advantage, never sticking out and giving foes an opportunity to get a shot in on you. When a player's hit, they'll be invincible for a couple seconds. If you're okay with tying for first place and rolling a dice block to determine the winner, then keep playing it safe, but if you want a sole first place win, then near the end of the minigame, do a sneak attack on the other winner to barely clinch it. Peepa Panic. Don't touch the Peepas. The layout is not exactly the same every time, but it's close. A lot of these setups are gonna be the same, but with randomized timings and occasional extra Peepas in places that you didn't notice before. These small changes add up though, and can trip you up if you got used to a layout and assumed it would be the same layout every time. So get your observation cap ready, because this is not a racing minigame, despite what it looks like. It's an auto-scroller at the end of the day. You've got 3 hearts, and if you touch a Peepa, then you lose 1, but that's not all. You've got to shake your Wii remote to break free from their grasp. If you don't, then they'll carry you off screen, and you'll lose all of your hearts at once, instantly losing you the minigame, so get to shaking if you're caught. The first section's got Peepas moving left and right without pause. Easy to predict, take your time. The second section is similar until the last row of Peepas, where one row will move to the other row will move away, and so on, kind of like a spring stretching and squashing. The third and final sections where things get tricky. The first moving set of Peepas here will merge in the middle, dance around to the opposite side, and separate once more, with each Peepa leaving diagonally of where they were. The next set's outer Peepas do the exact same thing, but in a much wider area. Now you should start moving closer to the top since the end's coming up. The set to look out for is this line where the Peepas that collide with the others will move the entire set instead of stopping. Other than those, the smaller Peepa sets you see from here on out are reminiscent of what you've seen before. Just don't run into the ones that move down at the end, and make sure you cross the finish line first to win, with your health not being a factor at all on victory. Pipe Sniper. Aim quickly, fire with the A button. A regular piranha plant is worth 1 point per hit for a total of 5 points until it goes away, whereas a gold piranha plant is worth 3 points per hit for a total of 15 points until it goes away. There are different map variations, but your strategy here will remain the same. The colors of the pipes do not matter. A regular piranha plant and a golden one can pop out of any pipe. In fact, you can take down the piranha plant just for another one to pop out of the same warp pipe. You can see where all the other players' reticles are, so prioritize hovering your reticle around the openings of multiple warp pipes, and when a piranha plant pops out, spam the A button on it for points. Golden should be top priority here, even if they're not in the section you're hovering around. 3 points a pop is just that good. I find this variation's spinning pipe rather annoying to aim on, so I'd ignore it and let the other players have at it unless there's a golden. you'll occasionally see swoops flying by in a straight line, either from the left side or the right side. Hitting one will earn you 5 points. There may even be multiple together to nail you even more. They're a little hard to hit though compared to the piranha plants, as you've got to aim a little ahead of where they're flying, but if you can do that, then you'll be feeling good. Just don't prioritize them if there's a golden plant right in front of you. During the last 5 seconds, a bunch of goldens will pop out of the pipes along with some regular ones. Obviously prioritize the goldens that you could grab just for yourself. Platform push. Knock other players off. Punch with 1 button and jump kick with 2 buttons followed by 1 button. If you touch the acid, then you're out. Look, I know I glaze jump kicks all the live long day whenever they're available, but first look at how absolutely pathetic punching is here. How in the world is that going to send anybody anywhere? Now look at the jump kick, which I can basically do from the floor and send my opponents flying away. There's no reason to punch at all. From seconds 30 to 25, the arena will be at max size, from seconds 25 to 15 it'll be at its medium size, and from seconds 15 to the end, it'll be at its smallest size and start raising. Do not give up if you get knocked off, because if you land on any of the leftover platforms below, you can still jump right back up. Focus on occupying the middle and immediately jump kick around your character as a protective shield. Rapid River Race. Boost your speed with the 2 button. The layout's different every time, but everyone gets the same layout. You have 6 speed variations, and for the purpose of winning, only 2 matter: max speed and almost max speed. It may be tempting to try to play this game going at max speed. I mean, this is crazy, and it's actually kind of manageable if you are locked in and have your eyes glued to the top of the screen, watching for urchins and reacting accordingly. Problem is, some urchin combinations, even if your reaction speed is impeccable, are incredibly rough to deal with, such as you being on one side and needing to move to the opposite side in an instant. Switching between the 3 lanes in this minigame is done via tapping the D-pad, not holding. So to avoid getting hit here, you'd have to tap incredibly quick to make it out unscathed, which is pretty unlikely. Then again, you may not even run into this setup. If you don't, and really dodge well, then you can get a sub 15 score, which is incredible. On the safer, but still great side though, 1 bar under max speed is awesome. It's really fast, but it also gives you a reasonable amount of time to dodge everything in your path, even the annoying setup we talked about earlier. In case you were curious, 6 boosts without mistakes is below 15 seconds. 5 boosts without mistakes is about 18.5 seconds, but, and here's where it gets interesting, 6 boosts with a single mistake is around 17.5 seconds. So if you go full speed, get hit and lose all of your speed, but then build yourself back up to max again without making any more mistakes, your score will still be lower than if you did 5 boosts without any mistakes. Again, this is tempting, but that's if you don't make any more mistakes at max speed, which is gonna be likely here. The only time I'd recommend going at max is if your reaction time is quick and you're close to the screen, letting you recognize where the urchins are with ease. Otherwise, I'd stick to 5 boosts. Shy Guy Shuffle. Keep track of the one who has the most. There are 3 rounds and 5 Shy Guys. Each Shy Guy will be holding a plate with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 donuts respectively. They'll then be covered and the Shy Guys will shuffle in the city, where you'll click on the one you want. Only one player can lay claim to a plate at a time, so you've got to make sure you're clicking incredibly fast on your target. Round 1 shuffling is easy. The Shy Guys will run around in wide motions. The only tricky part is when they line up, but if you keep your eye on your guy, then you'll end up fine. Round 2 is shorter than you think and faster too. Don't get thrown off since it's still quite manageable. Round 3 is difficult. They'll line up and do a quick jumping motion over and over again. It's hard to read which direction a few of them jump. I wouldn't blame you for getting lost here, but notice how they always do these jumps in a straight line. If you see your guy, even for a few frames, jump a certain direction, then follow where he would have landed. Keep watch on him and make your final selection. Clicking first on your guy won't always happen, especially on the first couple rounds where others are bound to follow along too. This is why I recommend following both the 5 donut Shy Guy and the 4 donut one on the first 2 rounds. It's more manageable than you think. After the minigame ends, the characters will eat donuts together, with everyone having their own unique animation. Goes to show that donuts bring even the greatest of foes together. Snake Block Party. Keep moving, don't fall, jump with the 2 button. The layout is not the same every time, but there are some repeating patterns between layouts that hold true. For starters, the opening will, you have 3 hearts by the way, the opening will, and if you fall you'll come back in a bubble, the opening will have you see 1 snake line coming towards you and a 3-way split heading up. 2 of these 3 lines can move towards each other and combine into 1 line, reducing the space you and your opponents have to move around. There will be multiple floating islands as you make your way up, which are your safe spots. They don't move and have lots of space. Use your time here to analyze the snake lines ahead. You may spot a snake line appear from the top, but don't be fooled. These lines are stuck in place, moving back and forth. To actually progress, you'll have to get back onto one of the original snake lines heading up. Jumping on an opponent's head basically does nothing to you or them. You'll bounce up, sure, but you'll only move in the direction you choose. Momentum does not carry over, so as long as you don't panic, you'll be okay. The biggest issue in this minigame is how little you and the others have on these snake blocks. Body blocking makes it super easy to fall off, so I'd prioritize getting onto a line where few players are. The winner of the minigame is whoever touches the ground past the finish line first. How many hearts you have is irrelevant. Soar to score. Press the A button to let go at just the right time. There are 2 rounds where your points are added up for each round, with whoever having the most points wins. If you do nothing on your turn, then you won't get any points. Wherever you land is how many points you get, ranging from 0, which is what you get if you fling yourself backwards, to 20, to 40, to 60, to 80, to 100. Pretty simple, there's no real reason to not go for the 100. Personally, I find it easiest to prepare to press A as soon as my character lines up with the left line of the 80 zone. The moment I see the lineup, I press A and don't always get the 100 admittedly, but I'll at least get an 80 consistently, which ain't half bad. It really just comes down to good timing, nothing else left to say. Spiked Ball Scramble. Don't get hit, don't fall off. Multiple players can win. You have 1 heart and there are many different variations of this minigame, so pay attention or your spiked ball will get scrambled. Now I say that, but the layout you go through is going to be pretty straightforward each time. The path you're on will split into 2. This path will repeatedly merge back into 1 and split into 2 over and over. Before you choose whether you want to go left or right, you'll see a giant wall in front of you which prevents you from seeing which path ahead is safest. But too bad, it basically won't open up until you make a selection, in which case it'll reveal whether your path is safe or dangerous. Metal strips on the floor indicate where the hitbox of the swinging spiked ball will smack into you. So long as you're not standing on a metal strip while it swings by, you're safe. This holds true for whether there's multiple spiked balls swinging in a row and larger spiked balls that appear later on. Just watch out for these large guys when you're on the opposite side. Above all else, do not get scared and fall behind. You'll make it harder to avoid spiked balls. Keep ahead and watch the metal strips, especially when the minigame's nearing its end, since you need to cross the finish line to win. 2v2 minigames. Bobsled Battle. Get in sync and get coins. The layout is the same every time. Opening segment doesn't matter much, just go on by. Stick to the coin path on your side, then move closer to the middle for the coin pairs. The next set of them is on your right. Don't be afraid to push the other team out of the way for them, you'll be doing that a lot. Multiple coin pairs show up in a row with Bob-ombs around. Try and push your foes into a Bob-omb while you collect coins. They'll blow up, losing 5 coins, and get knocked back, leaving you to collect a swath of coins ahead and them only catching up after a few seconds. The next coin trios are more on the left side, so prepare for that. The minigame's pretty much over at this point since the last set of coins are just everywhere and you can't much prevent the others from grabbing a lot. Of course, this is the optimal pathing if your partner's very much in sync with you. If they're not, then you won't turn fast or at all. If they seem to struggle keeping up with your movements, then try and adapt to theirs so long as it'll still get you some coins. Boo Burglars. Light up the boos and catch the ones with diamonds. Swing the net with the 2 button. One player's on flashlight duty, putting the spotlight on boos to reveal whether or not they have a diamond, and the other player's on net duty, swinging their net at the ones that contain the diamond to secure a point. If you've got the flashlight, then you should be moving between boos, lighting up as many of them as quickly as possible until you see one with a gem, where your next job is to just stay still as your partner nabs it, because they can only capture boos that are stunned by a flashlight. Big detail, do not move on from a gem boo thinking they can get it. If you've got the net, then follow your teammate closely and react quick to whichever boo gets lit up with a gem. If you've lit up all the available boos and can't find any ones with gems and a new boo spawns, then beeline it for that one and light them up. Keep on the lookout for new boos that appear for a higher chance at finding the ones with gems. Bouncy Bounty, jump with the 2 button, work as a team to get the coins. One of you is on note block duty and the other is on jumping duty. Hold 2 when landing on the note block to gain maximum height for your jump. You'd think that you'd only be able to jump on your partner's note block, but you can jump on your opponent's one too. Take advantage of both note blocks placements to chain together as many coins as possible. You have collision with the other jumping player, where jumping on their head gives you a boost, but doesn't do much for them. If you're holding the note block, then position yourself under the largest clump of coins for your partner, otherwise they'll be forced to use the opponent's note block, which won't be nearly as convenient. There are many different coin variations that will appear throughout the minigame, but they'll only show up once every coin on screen has been collected. So if your team is far ahead in coin count, then avoid getting the last coin to stall out the game for the win. Bump, set, spike. Sync up, set, and spike the ball. One of you will shake your Wiimote to lob the ball up to the other player, who will shake their Wiimote to spike it down. Regardless of which position you get, the timing for when you shake to hit the ball is the same, as soon as the ball lights up. Don't be afraid to even shake right before it lights up, cause that'll work too. The air position in particular might feel weird since your character is moving while getting ready to hit the ball, but this does not change your timing. If you're mistiming in either position, then it's probably because you're shaking late. Goombrat Combat. Punch with the 1 button or the 2 button. Get the Goombrats onto the other player's side. The Goombrats bounce around at such an insanely crazy rate that this one feels luck-based, even though it feels also like strategy should take priority. You can even punch at Goombrats that are the opposite direction from your foe's side, and because they bounce so much, they'll often still make it over there. Like, yes, in general, you want to punch at groups of Goombrats on your side so that more get launched to the opponent's side, but your punches come out so quick and are so effective at almost any angle that you can punch Goombrats around you and make decent progress. Despite the insanity here, watch for where the big gobs of Goombrats are and launch them to the further side from where your opponents are standing if you can. Otherwise, just let her rip and react quickly to any Goombrats on your side, covering areas that your teammate are not occupying. Friendly fire's on, by the way, don't hurt your buddy. Ground Pound Pals. Sync up and ground pound. A single ground pound won't do anything. It's only when you and your teammate ground pound 2 buttons on opposite sides within half a second of one another that you'll instantly gain all the coins in between the two of you. Coin amounts range from 3, 5, and 10. They all have X's behind them, which might make you think they multiply, but they don't. It's all addition. That makes this minigame a simple matter of scoping out where the largest 10 coin values are and quickly ground pounding the line with your teammate for collection. 5 coin values aren't that bad either. I just avoid going out of your way for 3 coin ones. They should only be collected if there's nothing else to grab or by chance when grabbing other more fruitful combos. If you and your partner find it hard to sync up normally, then let them ground pound wherever they want and you go out of your way to match them, not the two of you matching each other. You can mash the jump button so that you ground pound quick in order to catch up to their movements for synchronization. Murky Maze. Find your teammate in the dark maze. If 5 minutes pass without either teammates finding one another, it's a tie. Here are all the map variations I've found, with most of them being symmetrical, and since the beginning of the minigame shines a cheeky spotlight around the area, you can know exactly which variation you're on right from the beginning if you memorize them. But if you're looking for a good rule of thumb, then I'd say that your first move should be horizontal, since that direction will be the correct path more often than not. Also, so long as you and your partner are consistently moving in each other's general direction as you walk around fences, you're likely making progress. It's rare for the solution to be that one of you has to go backwards, so don't doubt yourselves. You can body block opponents, but this isn't helpful since there's enough room for them to walk around you, so just focus on your teammate. Revolving Relay. Take turns pedaling the platforms, jump with the 2 button. If neither team reaches the end after 5 minutes pass, it's a tie. The layout is the same every time. True to its name, this is a relay, where one player will spin the platforms to the halfway point, then the other player will take over spinning it until the end. To pedal the platforms at the fastest speed, start by dropping to the furthest platform, then continuously jump to the platform opposite of the one you're on at the very edge of it. When it drops, jump to the platform behind you on the edge of it, and continue the process until it drops once more and your partner takes over. If you're said partner, then the same method applies since the layout repeats. Don't give up until the end. Oh, and while you're doing nothing, you can press the 2 button to wave to your buddy. Shape up. Grab blocks with the A button and stack them up to the line. If neither team finishes within the time limit, it's a tie. 3 shapes will be available for you to grab at a time. When you place a shape, a new one will be made available. When your tower reaches the line, it must keep touching the line for 3 seconds in order to secure the win. So we want to make sure it's sturdy. That's easier done than said here. Seriously, so long as you center these blocks while stacking them, they're good. You don't even have to drop them on top of one another. A block can be placed slightly inside another, and the game will automatically place it directly above, which is a lot better to do than dropping it from high up so that you don't cause big collisions. I'd take turns making placements with your partner so that you don't stumble over one another, but don't be afraid to place 2 blocks in a row if there's an opportunity to do so. Soccer Brawl. Work as a team to score goals. Bouncing into the soccer ball will send it further than if you bounce into a player. I'd say the number one thing to get a hold of here, as expected, is the motion controls. It's easy to say, oh, bounce it through openings in your opponent's defenses, working with your teammate to do so, but it's another thing to actually do that when tilting your Wiimote. The ball will almost never go exactly where you want, so shooting for general directions is better than hyper-specific shots. If your teammate is playing aggressively, then match them by playing more to the side of them for defense and to take advantage of any opportune shots around your opponent's defenses. The weirdest maneuver you'll have to get used to here is when the soccer ball is shot past you and towards your goal. You've got to awkwardly and quickly roll around the ball to defend so that you don't accidentally give your foes a point. When a point is scored, the scorers will be placed by the goal while the other team will be placed next to the ball in the middle, putting them at the advantage. If you're up a point, then it gets pretty easy to give yourself the win by playing defense with your teammate and wasting the other player's time. 1v Rivals minigames. Here's their distribution table. Bubble Squabble. The solo player traps everyone in bubbles with the 2 button. The rivals bounce into trapped friends with the 2 button to free them. As the solo player, you've got to hold the 2 button down to expand a bubble. You can only release one once it shines. Doing it this early will release a small bubble which can capture an opponent the same way a large bubble can, but as you can imagine, it is a smaller hitbox. I find this to not be a bad downside though, as the bubbles sway left and right when they float up, so if you make tons of these smaller bubbles in a row, you can essentially make a wall that your opponents can't pass through, whereas if you instead did larger bubbles, it gets easier for your foes to avoid them due to there being more openings since it takes longer to make them. Not like any of this matters though, because this minigame is unfortunately broken. If you're on the team of 3, you can release a teammate from their bubble by bouncing on their head. The broken part? If you and your teammates stack on top of one another on one side, then whenever someone gets captured, they'll get instantly saved by the player above them. The solo player has little recourse for this. Their only option is to make a bubble a little further away from the group and hope it sways into one of the higher up players to break the chain. But this will likely just end up with the second player in the line getting bubbled instead of the top player, since the bubble ain't gonna sway to the left enough to avoid them. There's no reason to not do this as the team unless you'd rather play the game normally and make the solo player happy. Bullet Bill Bullies. The solo player avoids the bullet bills, whereas the rivals press the 2 button to fire. The solo player has 3 hearts, and the bullet bills that the team fire can cancel each other out upon collision. This one kind of feels like a luck-based minigame in disguise. Yeah, it's ultimately up to the solo player to dodge the attacks, but the act of dodging will often move the platform in unexpected ways, which can cause them to get hit. As the solo player, you can minimize this chaos by either making sure that when you dodge, you only do so to the side that the platform's already moving toward, or even better, keep the platform against one side so that it stays perfectly still. This way you'll know exactly where each bullet bill will end up, and the annoyance of the moving platform is no longer a bother. You're free to dodge without constraint. That is, unless you dodge to the opposite side for a while, but it's still pretty nice. A good team won't let you do this for long though, and will start to cover a majority of the platform at once. If they do this, then you've got to start moving again. If they keep shooting ahead of where your platform is instead of directly at you, then change directions frequently to throw them off. Your hitbox is smaller than you think, by the way. As the team, you want to make the opposite type of shots that your teammates are making. If they're going for direct shots only, then the solo player can avoid those by switching directions frequently, so you should shoot a bit ahead. Vice versa if your teammates aren't doing many direct shots. The most obvious aim here is for you and your teammates to not shoot at the exact same spot, otherwise you'll all collide, so prioritize the spot in the arena you're facing. If you can, try to shoot at the same time as your teammates so that the solo player can't swerve in between the bullet bills. Cheep, cheep, check. The solo player tries to distract their rivals with the A button, whereas the rivals try to count the cheep cheeps. By distract, it's referring to the fact that when the solo player selects a cheep cheep, it'll rapidly swim in a random direction, making it more difficult for the team to count how many there are. The two clams at the bottom can also be selected, causing all the cheep cheeps above them to scurry around too. As the solo player, you should be clicking on the clams whenever you're able to. They affect way more cheep cheeps and cause so much more visual clutter and noise than what you can do alone. When they're not available, spam click as many cheep cheeps as possible. The clumps are your main target since those are the easiest to count quickly for the team. Spread them out all over the arena and give the team a hard time. As the team, your job is to stay focused and count. Lock in any big clumps of cheep cheeps, then quickly dart your eyes to the scattered ones and count them too. If you're sure of your count, then stick to it. But wait, only one of you on the team will submit an answer by the end, so if that person isn't you, then tell them the answer you're confident in. If you're not confident, then talk it out and see if multiple of you came to the same number. If that's the case, then do that number if no one is perfectly confident in their count. Out of every minigame in the series so far, this one probably confuses me the most in terms of the team setup. It feels like the 3 players should be the ones doing a bunch of distractions, while the 1 player should be the person counting. It's so weird to me that 3 players count just for only one of them to submit an answer in the end. Strange. Hop, drop, and roll. The solo player presses the A button to attack with bullet bills, and the rivals use the 2 button to jump out of the way. Rivals can get knocked out by touching a bullet bill that the solo player launches, or by touching a growl that automatically drops down from the moving mechanism above after it lights up to the arrow. As the solo player, you want to work with the growls that drop and shoot your bullet bills at times where the team needs to jump over the growls so that they hit your bullet bills when doing so. Make sure your bill blasters are off center so that you don't accidentally collide your bills into one another. If you're on the team, know that the bullet bills cannot hit you on the ground. Your main goal is to jump over the growls while a bullet bill is not present. This can mean jumping over it early or waiting out a bullet bill flying by to jump over the growl later. You have more time than you think, so don't think twice about stalling a little bit to give yourself time. Do this properly and the solo player won't really have much counterplay to your patience. Keep away mayhem. The solo player slides with the 2 button to cut off the pass, whereas the rivals pass the ball with the A button, 1 button, or 2 button. Each rival will have a button next to them. When a rival clicks that button, they'll pass to that player. If one presses their own button, nothing will happen. As the solo player, you only need to touch the ball once, but these passes are fast. Simply running towards a player and sliding will not be enough. You need to successfully predict and cut off a pass mid-travel. All of the rivals will remain in the same spot and will kick the ball in a straight line at the same speed. When you start approaching a rival, watch for how they react. Do they pass early? Late? Approach all 3 rivals and see if you notice if any of them play worse than the others. Make that player your target and put the pressure on them over and over when they have the ball, going out of your way to predict which player they pass to and diving in that direction for the win. If you're on the team and wait too long to make a pass, then the solo player will close in on you and will have an easier time snatching the ball. Pass quickly to the player that's most open from you once the solo player enters your zone. Movin Mushrooms. Get super and gold mushrooms into your carts. Mushrooms are worth 1 point, golden mushrooms are worth 3 points, and poison mushrooms are -3 points. The team controls one platform each, the top left, bottom middle, and top right ones, whereas the solo player controls the bottom left, top middle, and bottom right platforms all at once. This is done through motion controls tilting the Wiimote horizontally left and right. At the bottom, you'll see carts moving along in alternating colors that correspond to each team. You want to ensure that the mushrooms and golden mushrooms end up in your team's colored cart. The solo player has an advantage on paper as they control 2 of the 3 bottom platforms. This doesn't mean a clean 2/3 of the total mushrooms will end up dropping to them though, since the team controls 2 of the 3 top platforms and should be aiming to drop the mushrooms to their partner in the bottom middle, who has the most important job out of everyone, sorting the mushrooms into the proper baskets. You'd better hope that the most skilled player on the team is in this position, because if they aren't, then you'll be banking on someone that randomly tosses all their mushrooms you're giving them into random baskets. And that 50-50 is the worst when you see the solo player having fun deciding mushrooms on their own with 2 platforms. If you're the solo player, then your attention will be split 3 ways since you control all 3 of your platforms at the same time. I'd focus on the bottom 2 first and foremost, since oftentimes, even if the top 2 players are locked in, these rotating stars can screw things up in your favor. Regardless of which team you're on, prioritize golden mushrooms over the normal ones if you have to choose between the 2, and avoid the poison mushrooms, which are the rarest ones of all. The final 10 seconds will see an increase in golden mushrooms, so keep it up until the minigame is over. Skewer Scurry. The solo player selects a direction to attack with the skewers, whereas the rivals run and hide. The solo player has 4 directions to attack from, but no matter which direction they choose, there will be obstacles on the field that the team can hide behind to protect them from every angle. While I'd love to say that it's difficult to figure out how to guard against each side, it's not. I at least find it very straightforward. Sure, the solo player can do fake outs, but the team is given a lot of time to simply run behind one of the blockades. Also, there's only 3 map variations. In case you were curious, here are the easiest spots to place your character in to defend against each side of skewers. Other blockades will work too, of course, but I marked these because they're the closest to one another. For example, in this first variation, you simply move here to block the top skewers, here to block the right skewers, here to block the left skewers, and here to block the bottom skewers. No biggie. If you're the solo player, then hope that your opponents don't know about this and are playing it freestyle. Take advantage of your fake outs by doing ones on opposite sides so that the players have to travel further for safety. Spring Fling. The solo player ejects their rivals with a ground pound, whereas the rivals have to avoid getting flung. There are 4 buttons: the red heart, green clover, purple diamond, and blue spade. If a button's ground pounded, then its matching button will spring up where the team is, and if someone's over that button when it springs, they're out. If you're the solo player, then you need to get a good handle of quickly ground pounding one button after another. You can accidentally undershoot or overshoot your jump and end up ground pounding beside a button instead, which does nothing. And every time you do press a button, the platforms spring up in front of your space and obscure your vision. This ain't all a big deal, just remember to keep focus on where your character is, because these ground pounds are not free. The buttons correlate in a clockwise pattern, so if you want to pressure players by moving them to the right, then ground pound clockwise, and if you want to go to the left, then ground pound counterclockwise. Unfortunately for you, but fortunate if you're part of the team, is that this one is easy to cheese. If a platform next to you is sprung up, you push against it and jump as soon as it starts going down. The solo player will not be able to fling you quickly enough to get you out. Just rinse and repeat the strategy over and over for an easy win. You don't even need super quick reaction time for this. Steal the beat. The solo player drums with the A button and 2 button, whereas the rivals have to match the band leader's rhythm. There are 3 rounds. Each round, the solo player will hit either the A button or 2 button as many times as they want within the time limit, where the team must then match what the solo player's inputs were. If the team collectively makes 10 mistakes, then the solo player wins, but if they manage to make less than 10 mistakes, then the team wins. Emphasis on the collectively part. You can match inputs perfectly, but if you've got a teammate that, well, isn't, then it's curtains. The solo player can make 16 total inputs per round, but the difference between each round is that they increase in speed, with round 1 being the slowest, 2 being medium, and 3 being fast. As the solo player, you might be tempted to have fun with little spaces in between your notes, making a song, but absolutely do not do that. It is much too easy for the team to simply copy the slow moving inputs on their screen. My recommendation? Randomly alternate between A and 2 on every input for every round. When it's time for the team to copy, they'll see a mess of inputs all garbled together as they attempt to quickly discern which of the 2 buttons is next within a short time frame. If you're on the team, then stay calm and watch your yellow circle. Press the proper button that approaches it, and do not panic if you screw up. You do not get stunned for errors, just focus on what comes next and keep team morale high since you're all in this together. Watermelon Wailin'. The solo player hits the watermelons with the 1 button, whereas the rivals run away. The solo player only needs to hit each player a single time to win, but plot twist, when a player gets knocked out, they aren't actually knocked out. They can keep moving around. As a member of the team, get in between the solo player and your teammates to buy them time. Your goal is to be an annoying, moving shield that will not go away no matter what. You're a bit slower than the solo player, so you've got to compensate by juking left and right so that they miss their shots. One of you is bound to get hit eventually though, since part of the balance of this minigame is the body blocking, so don't get dismayed if you get bonked, just become the best bodyguard possible. If you're the solo player, then know that you strike quick, so go for plenty of them as soon as you're within range. You only need to hit him once. Chase him to the edges, chase him into watermelons, which become obstacles once they fall by the way, but whatever you do, don't chase opponents you've already hit. If a certain player keeps getting in your way, then you can bonk him for a stun and keep chase on your win condition. Boss Minigames. Bowser's Tank Terror. Attack with the 2 button, power up with mushrooms. When the minigame starts, you'll be firing away at Bowser's big tank in the middle. Each shot is 1 point. Get one of the mushrooms floating around and you'll grow up and get 2 points apiece per shot. This will slow down your speed too, but that's not much of a big deal. Bowser's primary attack is charging up his front cannon and shooting spiked balls in a straight line which explode on contact. If he charges his 4 corners, then he's gonna spew flames and rotate in a circle. He can use both of these attacks at once, by the way. Get hit by any of his attacks and you'll lose 2 points. Touch his tank and you'll simply bounce back. The key to earning the most points here is dashing for a mushroom the moment one appears and firing from behind Bowser while he's focused on other players for 2 points apiece. Oh, and you can destroy his flame jets after dealing about 15 points of damage. I wouldn't focus on this though. Once he's reduced to half health, the minigame switches gears and you're now firing at dry Bowser straight ahead in the distance. Mushrooms should still be your target here for those juicy 2-pointers, and dodging his blue fireballs is a must since they deal 3 damage. He can shoot them straight or jump way back and have them rain down on the arena. Avoid the blue zones and you'll be good. His last attack has him hurling a bone that covers half of the arena, which also does 3 damage, and of course this can kind of be combined with his fireball attacks. Despite all the chaos, your goal is clear. You want to maximize as many mega shots as possible while trying to avoid losing your power up. So long as that's your top priority, you'll be good. Whoever gets the final hit gets 10 bonus points. Kamek's Rocket Rampage. Grab missiles and press the 2 button to attack. This one's a 2D flying shooting minigame where you can't just fire away at Kamek to earn points by default. You've got to earn your ammo. Tons of bubbles will fly in from above. Most contain regular rockets, where when shot at Kamek will earn you 2 points, whereas some contain big golden rockets that'll earn you 5 points per shot. These ones leave you flying a bit slower, but are well worth the damage. While you do have collision with your opponents when moving around, you don't have collision with them while firing. What your rockets do have collision with are the bullet bills that Kamek summons. These will cancel out your rocket and will take away 1 point if you touch him. You'll also drop any rocket you were holding, free for other players to pick it up, so if you see this happen to another player, then make a quick grab and a straight shot. Once Kamek's down to half health, he'll begin summoning bonsai bills instead, which take up a lot more space and take away 3 points if you touch one. There's also the big amps, which move a little slower and only take away 2 points a hit. No matter what Kamek summons, it will not go away on collision with something. It'll keep moving to the end of the screen. Stick to the top of the screen as much as you can so that you can grab rockets and shoot them right after one another at a quick rate. Doesn't matter if it's a small one, those points add up. Last hit grants 5 points, which isn't crazy enough to warrant waiting for. King Boo's tricky tiles. Hop onto the switches to attack with light. Orange switches are worth 1 point, whereas golden ones are worth 3. Before a round begins, you'll notice multiple boos hovering next to the platforms. Once it begins, these boos will transform into platforms in an effort to fool you into hopping on them. If you do, then you'll fall down, lose a point, and get returned to the beginning. Manage to evade them by hopping around, which can be done quickly by simply holding the direction you wish to go, and aim for the +3 switches. You can't really outspeed players to a switch on this one since the movement's fairly straightforward, so if it's clear someone else will reach a +3 switch before you, then grab a +1 switch instead. Sometimes the boo layout you're given just isn't in your favor and you'll have to move around some boos while your opponents don't. Just make do with what you can. When King Boo reaches half health, the maps will be more complex with more boos to boot. King Boo will now switch the placement of a boo with a platform and then cover the screen to make it harder to memorize where the boos were. If you lost track, then know that the boo platforms will occasionally shake, whereas normal platforms do not. It takes a while to actually deal damage when stepping on a button, so if you make it to a +1 switch first, but there's a +3 ahead of you, then skip the +1 and step on the better switch instead. Last hit is +5 points, which can easily switch things up in a minigame like this one, which kind of feels turn-based. Mega Blooper's Bubble Battle. Pair the panels to attack. Each round, panels will float in front of Blooper, each containing half of an image, either a mushroom, fire flower, or shell. There will also be tons of bubbles that float up from the chasm around it, each containing a half of an image themselves. Your goal is to select a bubble that has a matching image with one of the ones in front of you. Manage that and you'll deal 2 damage. The funny part, there is no downside to spam clicking here. You can select as many bubbles as you want as fast as you want without having to wait to see what their image is, and you'll get it eventually. So I recommend just swaying your cursor left and right at the bottom of the chasm, mashing the A button on all the bubbles to earn tons of points. More panels will show up in front of you as Blooper loses health, but that doesn't change your strategy here. What does though is when it gets to half health, it'll spew out ink around it to heavily obscure the bubbles as they float up, and unfortunately, if you make a wrong selection now, you'll lose a point. So it's time to play by the rules. But hopefully you got a lot of points in the first phase for this detail to not matter much. Regardless, focus on the floating bubbles and search for matches, selecting them when they appear. Since the only options are mushrooms, fire flowers, and green shells, I recommend looking out for their respective colors and firing away the moment you recognize them. The final hit on Blooper is 5 points and not worth aiming for due to its difficulty. Mega Cheep Chomp Shell Shock. Attack with the A button. Spin the Mega Cheep Chomp towards other players. One shot dealt to the Cheep Chomp will earn you a point and each player gets 3 shots. The catch is that for every point of damage the Cheep Chomp takes, it'll rotate clockwise and face the next player. It can take a bunch of shots at once, and it will still properly face the player it's supposed to. After the time's up in each round, the Cheep Chomp will get rid of 2 points from the player it's facing. By the way, the player it begins facing is different at the start of each round. The winning method is to immediately fire 2 of your green shells and then hold off for a moment to see what the other players do. You've already earned 2 points, which is great, and you still have a shot in the tank. With this, you essentially force the other players to do at least 2 shots to catch up to your points. Some may even do 3, but it doesn't matter, because what you're going to do is shoot your last shot the instant time is about to run out, so long as it would not make Cheep Chomp face you. If it would, then obviously don't shoot. Earning 2 points and not losing any is still a win. Some layouts will happen to not be in your favor. Employ the same strategy during the second phase, where the Cheep Chomp summons multiple Cheep Cheeps to surround it. Hitting one of these will waste your shot and not earn you any points, so when you go to fire away your 2 shots, make sure it'll hit the Cheep Chomp. Last hit is worth 5 bonus points and is well worth targeting. Once you notice its health is low, then hold off on shooting and try to fire away all of your shots in a row to get the finishing blow. Mega Goomba's Ladder Leap. Jump with the 2 button, attack from above. As the rules say, you need to jump from the top of the ladder to have enough height to land on the Mega Goomba's head. When you do this, you'll earn a point. 3 jumps is the maximum before your character gets flung away. I don't doubt that body blocking shenanigans can increase this number, but it's certainly not something I'd count on. You're essentially trying to climb each ladder and jump on the Goomba, rinse and repeat as quickly as possible. When climbing a ladder, you'll see waddle wings glide between them. Touching one will lose you a point, as will touching the Goomba anywhere but the top of its head. The second phase doesn't introduce any new mechanics, it just speeds up the existing ones by having the Goomba move quicker, as well as having the waddle wings glide by more frequently. The damage remains the same. Each ladder can only support 1 player width-wise, so if you need a certain player to lose the minigame and they're below you, then you can butt block them on the ladder to prevent them from climbing up and wasting their time. If you think a player is going to do this to you though, then take a different ladder. The last hit bonus is worth 3 points, which is the same as the full set of jumps you can get on the Goomba. When you see its health getting really low, wait on the platforms and make your triple jump to ensure you nail that bonus. Mega Mecha Koopa's Swing and Stomp. Attack. Press the 2 button to jump from a chain. Your goal here is very simple. Run left to one of the 4 elevators, and as it raises, hold right so that you can grab onto a swinging chain. When you do, press the 2 button when you're past the halfway point if the Mecha Koopa is on the far right side of the arena, and at the midpoint of the swing if it's in the middle of the arena. Pressing the 2 button at the wrong time will have you either undershoot or overshoot, not gaining you anything but a loss in time, which is critical in this minigame. If you touch the Mecha Koopa through any other method, then you'll lose a point. Once it's down to half health, it'll speed up its movements and occasionally spray fire breath left and right. Touching it will lose you a point too. Play it the same way as before. Run left, grab the chain, then hop at the right time to deal damage. Just don't be hasty when running back and wait out any fire breath. The main struggle here is the last hit. It's worth 3 entire points, and considering it takes a long time to make 3 points, and the fact that any competent player will probably be within 2 points of you at this rate, whoever gets this last hit will likely win the game. So if you see the health bar this low, then wait at the top of the elevator until it's here, then swing and hit for the +3. Mega Monty Mole's Maze Mischief. Race through the maze and fire the cannons. Be first and fire the big one. You have 15 seconds to make your way through the maze and up the stairs, where the first player to exit earns 5 points, second gets 3, third gets 2, and fourth gets 1. If you don't make it out in time, then you'll lose 1 point. Despite this being a maze minigame, it's incredibly easy. With every variation shown, you're given ample time to view the whole maze, complete with multiple ways to reach the end. Simply look at your character and chart out the shortest path to the end, and run it as quickly as possible. When Monty Mole gets to half health, it'll enter its second phase, where bombs are now scattered throughout the maze. If you get exploded by one, you'll lose a point, but can still continue the maze. The trick with these is that they do not explode on a timer. Notice how no matter how long I wait here, this bomb will not explode. Meanwhile, if I run up and touch this bomb, then it'll immediately explode. Yup, they only explode once a player is within close proximity, so get close, back off, and continue forward over and over through the bombs. This can take some time though, so try and take the path with the least bombs first and foremost, even if the distance is technically longer than the path with more bombs. The final hit bonus is 5 points and worth going for only if you know which cannon will deal that final blow. You're probably better off just going for the largest cannon instead of making this calculation. Also, the final blow will make it so any players that were going to shoot with their cannon won't be able to since the minigame will be over. PD's Bomb Battle. Throw bombs. Each bomb you throw earns you a point. You want to keep shaking your Wiimote to throw bombs as quickly as possible. Most of the time, PD will just take the hits, but occasionally he'll crouch down and open his mouth, sucking in any bombs players throw at him and launch them back at the respective players, taking away 1 point per bomb. You might think that you'd stop throwing your bombs the moment he crouches down, but no, because bombs thrown at him during this time will stall his animation. Instead, stop throwing your bombs after he crouches 2 times. On average, he'll get stalled 3 or so times before opening up, so stopping at 2 gives you enough of a buffer to not accidentally make a mistake. When he reaches half health, he'll open his mouth more often, and he can now pretend he'll open his mouth. You'll know he's doing this if you first see him lean back before he leans forward. Throwing a bomb at him during this fake out animation will cause him to immediately open his mouth instead of stall him like in the normal animation. And remember, any player can trigger this, so he's likely going to open it up early. So you can throw a bomb during the fake out, but only do just the one so you aren't punished. If you see him just crouch normally though, then fire away like normal until the second crouch. The final hit grants 5 points and will likely be awarded at random considering how chaotic this one is. Sledge Bros Card Chaos. Remember the bullet bill cards and use them to attack. There are 5 card types: 1 bullet bill, 2 bills, 3 bills, 1 hammer, and 2 hammers, the last of which only shows up during the second phase. Choosing a bullet bill card will earn you that many points. A hammer card? That many points lost. When a round begins, you're given 5 seconds to memorize the card's locations. Then Sledge Bro will slam down and get rid of 2 random cards. Memorize the triple bullet bill spots first and foremost. Thankfully, double bullet bills are blue just like the triple ones, so if your options are gotten rid of, go for wherever you remember blue. The tricky part here is how the camera changes perspectives back and forth. Just keep your eyes on the prizes and hover your cursor over your selection, spam clicking the A button to grab it first. When Sledge Bro loses half health, he'll now throw in 2 hammer cards into the mix and get rid of 4 cards at a time instead of 2. This makes it way more important to not only lock in where the triple bullet bills are, but the blue cards in general, since those are always 2 bullet bills and up. By the way, the order that players attack Sledge Bro in is the order that they select their cards in. This doesn't matter for most of the minigame, but it does near the end when Sledge Bro's at low health. If you see he's really close to empty, then you'll especially want to pick your card faster than everyone else so that your shot lands first for the 5-point bonus, which also prevents their shots from going through for points too. Bowser Minigames. These are 1v4 minigames that only appear in Bowser Party. The Bowser player's goal is to reduce as many of the team's hearts as possible, whereas the team's trying to retain as many of their hearts as possible. As stated earlier, the 2 types of Bowser minigames are normal and angry. Angry ones are more in the Bowser player's favor, letting them have more opportunities for dealing lots of damage than the normal minigames. I'll indicate which ones are normal and which ones are angry via icons when the minigame shows up. Altogether, don't stress too much about performance and just focus on what you can control regardless if there's any imbalance going on. Bowser's Bad Breath. As Bowser, blow into the mic to breathe fire. As Team Mario, run away from Bowser's flames. Each fireball only deals 1 damage. If you're Bowser, then you're probably better off looking through your own perspective on the gamepad than the one screen for easier aiming, but if you'd rather, you can easily watch the big screen as you tilt the gamepad and make your shots. The rules say to blow into the mic to shoot fireballs, but pressing the A button is a whole lot easier to do. These fireballs go through opponents, so shoot them at groups of players to try and deplete multiple hearts at once. If there's a specific player that's really good at dodging them, then avoid them and opt in for the weaker foes. If you're on the team, then watch Bowser closely. In order to shoot a fireball a certain direction, his whole body has to turn, giving you a slight heads up on where he's about to shoot before he does it, so move in advance once you spot it, ideally from the furthest distance away at the bottom of the screen so you have the most amount of time to react. Make sure your team is nice and separated too, so that even if the Bowser player gets one off on you, it's only the one. Bowser's Bogus Bingo. As Bowser, hold the ZL button and ZR button and quickly raise the gamepad to roll the dice. Go for bingos. As Team Mario, once you select a bingo card, the rest is up to luck. There will be 6 bingo cards for the team to choose from, with various enemies on them in different positions. These are the possible enemies that can appear. 5 rounds will play out with the Bowser player rolling a dice block for an enemy. If that enemy shows up on the player's bingo card, it gets X'd out. Rolling the same enemy a second time is always bad for Bowser since he only needs to roll an enemy once to cross all of them out. After 5 rounds, each player will take 1 point of damage for each bingo they got on their card via Bowser's friendly fireballs. Now, under normal circumstances, yes, this one is luck-based, but there's an interesting trick here noted by See Craft Gaming, where if the Bowser player waits out the 10-second timer on the first round and onward, then the throw order will always be Boo for the first round, Bob-omb for the second round, Cheep for the third round, Cheep again for the fourth round, and Bob-omb again for the fifth round. So if your opponents have chosen bingo cards with Boos, Bob-ombs, and Cheeps on them, then don't throw on the first, second, and third rounds to guarantee that those enemies show up. Then manually throw on the fourth and fifth rounds to try for different enemies. Again, this trick only works starting from the first round. For example, if you throw the dice block manually on the first round, then forget this, the order will not show up and waiting won't do you any good. If you're on the team and you know the Bowser player is aware of this order strategy, then try and avoid or at least minimize the amount of enemies in the order on the card you pick. Regarding the bingo cards, there are many different variations, but this is mainly due to the devs substituting different enemies in the same spots. Take a look at these two cards for example. Same setup, different enemies. We'll take a look at notable setups like this one, which you should always avoid. There's only 6 enemies that can be rolled and there are 5 rounds to go through. Odds are you're gonna have a bad time hinging on one of those enemies not popping up. Same is true for this X formation. A single enemy rolled on this one already gets rid of 2 hearts. Prioritize cards that are properly mixed up like this one. The worst case scenario here is Bob-ombs getting rolled, in which case you're safe, followed by Koopa Troopas, where you take only 2 hearts of damage. Next worst roll for you is Goombas, where you'd now only be taking 4 hearts of damage, and to take any more damage than this would require Bowser to roll at least 4 out of your 5 enemies throughout his 5 rounds, which is unlikely. And remember, we're considering the worst case scenario. There's a chance that Bob-ombs don't get rolled in this scenario, in which case the 4 other enemies can get rolled and you'd only lose 2 hearts. Mixed up bingo cards like these ones are fantastic picks. Ones that are semi-mixed up but with a 3 in the row enemy aren't as good but still decent, and I'd avoid any cards that have flat out 3 in a row with little mixing. Good luck! Bowser's Clawful Climb. As Bowser, alternate pressing the ZL button and ZR button the number of times shown to chase the climbers. As Team Mario, alternate tapping the A button and 2 button repeatedly to climb away from Bowser. The teams mashing will consistently have them climbing up the wall like a bug, whereas Bowser's alternate mashing requires that the player presses ZR 5 times, then ZL 5 times, and so on and so forth. With each 5 presses, Bowser will do a sweeping climb and claw his way through an entire platform. Anyone caught on that platform will lose 3 hearts and get launched higher up on the wall for some distance. The team is bound to lose some hearts here with how in favor this is for Bowser. It is the quintessential Angry Bowser minigame, so don't get discouraged if you get hit on the team. You just want to avoid getting clawed at multiple times. But if you're Bowser, have fun mashing as fast as possible. I prefer using my pointer finger to mash each button and quickly moving my hand over to the other button whenever I've got to switch. Bowser's Fire Bar Fury. As Bowser, tilt your gamepad to roll the fire bars. As Team Mario, jump with the 2 button to avoid the fire bars. Fire bars deal 1 heart apiece, but the invincibility frames after getting hit do not last very long for the team, so these hits can add up quick. If you're the Bowser player, then you're much better off watching the main screen when tilting your gamepad instead of the gamepad itself, since they both show the same thing. No point in trying to awkwardly follow your own gamepad tilts when you've got a still screen in front of you. The team will dodge at their best when they have room to themselves, so target groups of players and watch as they fumble amongst themselves trying to dodge your fire bars and each other. When you see them jump over it, immediately switch directions to catch them on their landing. If you're still close to the largest group, then stick to them. No point in going for anyone alone. That just means less hearts depleted for them. If you're on the team, then you've all got to separate and stay out of each other's ways. When jumping over a fire bar, be prepared to quickly jump again as soon as you land, since the Bowser player is likely going to switch the bar backwards on you. The timing here can be tight, but it is possible to dodge here under favorable circumstances. If you get hit, then dart the opposite direction the bars are rolling and away from your teammates. Bowser's Hammer Slammer. As Bowser, aim for your rivals and press the A button to attack with the hammer. As Team Mario, move away from the hammer and don't get hit, but if you do get hit, then you'll lose a heart. If you're Bowser, then your perspective on the gamepad is quite different from that on the big screen. You're looking from Bowser's perspective as you turn left and right. While the big screen offers more information on where everyone is, I prefer the gamepad point of view so I can line them up with the red Bowser reticle easier. When moving left and right like this, you can follow along with players and instantly smash your hammer down the moment they're in range. If two players are against one another and you slam in the middle of them, then you can get them both at the same time. This is more so something to look out for than something to count on if it pops up. Considering you only deal 1 damage per strike, you're probably not going to knock out a bunch of players here, so take what you can get with the ones in your range. If you're on the team, then know that you move a little slower than Bowser when he's turning, so if he starts catching up to you, then quickly change directions to try and skirt past the Bowser reticle to safety. Spread out from your team to avoid two of you getting stuck together, and if you're really low on hearts, then stay behind Bowser whenever you can to lower your chances of getting knocked out. Bowser's High Dive. As Bowser, tap to choose left or right, try to squish him. As Team Mario, watch Bowser's shadow, choose a platform and don't get squished. If Bowser lands on a player, they'll lose 2 hearts. If you're the Bowser player, then I highly recommend you play this one from Bowser's perspective on the gamepad. Unlike the team, you'll have a much better idea of when exactly you're about to land, so while they switch platforms in a panic trying to guess where you'll end up, you can switch last second to the platform that most of the players are on. When switching, they cannot stop midway. The moment they start running, they will be on the other platform by the end, only able to switch once more when the character stops. Keep this in mind as you fake the team out by moving left and right over and over before fully committing to a huge stomp each of the 3 rounds. If you're on the team, then know that as soon as Bowser lifts off, about 5 seconds will pass before you can make your final movements. Then half a second later, he'll land. Start counting the instant he jumps and watch his shadow. It does not lie. All the Bowser player can do is bait you into going onto one platform over another. If you focus on which side the shadow is favoring by the 5-second mark, and then quickly move to the safe platform, you can avoid being hurt all 3 rounds. Bowser's Paintball. As Bowser, activate the flippers with the ZL button and ZR button. Attack with the spike balls. As Team Mario, keep away from the spike balls. Getting hit by a spiked ball takes away a heart. The game will start with one ball that the Bowser player can fling around like a normal pinball, complete with bumpers and obstacles. The second ball appears quickly, and if any of the 2 balls go down the middle, then it'll come back after a few seconds. The middle obstacle moves in a hexagonal shape clockwise, and as the Bowser player, it's not too fun to work around. The team you're aiming for is obviously going to stand behind this object a bit further in the back, so you've got to make sure you hit the spike balls around the obstacle so that they ping around the back part. To make a spike ball go fast, hit it at the edge of the flipper, not the exact tip, but at the edge, and to make it go slower, hit it at the middle. It's best to try and get both spike balls to roll as fast as possible around the arena without giving your foes the time to react. The game doesn't tell you this, but if you shake the gamepad, then you'll stun the players for a moment. This is best done as soon as you launch a fast spike ball so that your enemies have even less time to react, if any at all. If you're on the team, then stick to the back part of the arena, preferably near the middle. The Bowser player can only reach you here with strong hits of the spiked balls, in which case you can react and avoid most of them unless they come at a bad angle. Hugging the top of the obstacle ain't a bad place either, just stay away from the bottom and sides of the arena to avoid losing a bunch of hearts. Bowser's Roulette Rage. As Bowser, set 3 bomb spots and spin the wheel, then tap to stop the wheel. As Team Mario, run to segments without Bowser marks. Getting hit by a bomb gets rid of 3 whole hearts. There are 3 rounds. Each round, the Bowser player will place 3 Bowser emblems on any of the 6 zones and then spin the roulette, where he can stop it at any time. Once stopped, gates will segment off the zones, and any players trapped inside will get hit by at least 1 bomb. I say at least 1 bomb because the Bowser player can actually double up or triple up on a zone, resulting in multiple bombs falling down on any poor sap caught in it. I, however, do not recommend doing this if you're the Bowser player. Not even 2 bombs in one spot, because it's so much easier as the team to avoid getting caught in 2 zones spinning around, or even worse, a single zone spinning around, as opposed to 3 zones all side by side. This setup is a lot more difficult to deal with. If you're Bowser, then as the roulette spins like this, watch for the largest group of players and then stop the roulette as soon as they're within the middle zone you marked. If your timing is perfect, then you'll catch them there, but even if you're off a little and they run a bit, the 2 zones on each side will capture them and you'll knock off 3 health per enemy. You could set these Bowser zones up with safe zones in between, but again, this is easy to react to as the team since they've just got to quickly sidestep to the nearest safe area. You're much better off creating a lane of terror and stopping it with players in the middle to deal your damage. If you're on the team, then as the roulette spins, you want to maximize the time you spend in safe zones by running with them as they spin by, and minimize the time you spend in Bowser zones by running against them as they spin by. This makes it much more difficult for Bowser to time his capture since you dart by his zones at a much quicker speed this way. Just make sure he doesn't catch on and stop the roulette on you early. If he does this on a round, then mix up your movement a little more instead of repeating the same actions. Bowser's Sinister Slots. As Bowser, tap to stop the slots and attack with bullet bills. As Team Mario, run away from the bullet bills. If you're Bowser, then you might be tempted to get different players on your slots so that multiple players are attacked, but this is wrong. You'll only shoot 3 bullet bills this way. If you time the roulette properly and get 3 of the same player, then 9 bullet bills, 3 trios, one after another, will launch in their directions, likely getting others hit in the crossfire too. It's not even that hard to line up 3 of the same player considering you're given some leeway, so keep aiming for it as much as you can. When a player's been eliminated, their icon will darken on the roulette wheel, which can throw off your timing a bit. The last thing you want to do is spend a long time trying to get a perfect lineup for the 9 bullet bills when just spamming random outcomes would have ironically been faster. The invincibility frames the team has are minimal here, so the best player to aim for in these lineups is whoever has the most hearts so you can deal maximum damage. If you're on the team, then spread out and watch for which bullet bills aim for you. To dodge them, run sideways and forward so they jet behind you. Try to make sure that you do this maneuver in the direction with the least number of your teammates so you don't accidentally send a bunch of bullet bills their way. Bowser's Wicked Wheel. As Bowser, slide the stylus across the screen to spin the wheel. Tap to stop it. As Team Mario, run, but don't hit the imps. If you do get hit, then you lose 1 heart. As the Bowser player, you're either rolling the wheel or you're not. There is no in-between. This might feel like a disadvantage, but you deal damage here through sudden movements. The fact that the team has to rely on motion controls for movement instead of quick button presses is what you need to take advantage of through clever mix-ups of keeping the wheel rolling for a second and stopping versus switching between the two constantly. If you're on the team, then shake your Wiimote at a pace that keeps you on the left side, but still ahead of the left amp. When the wheel stops, react quickly and stop waving the Wiimote. This next part is critical as you'll react to whether or not the Bowser player does a longer spin or fakes you out. Be prepared for both as you carefully do small shakes so you can quickly come to a stop whenever necessary. Mario Party 10 sure knows how to mix things up. Despite coming off of the unpopular cart mechanic, it looked at it straight in the eyes and asked, how can this be improved? And while I don't think the devs found the right answer when it came to the Mario Party mode, I feel that Bowser Party had it down. Everyone moving together on the board makes so much more sense when they're on the same team, and that fun of working together gets multiplied when one of your friends is controlling a giant hulking monster to chase after you. I truly believe that Bowser Party, with a few tweaks here and there, would be very well received as a side mode in a more traditional Mario Party title. Thanks a bunch for watching. Huge thanks to all of the members of this channel, your support means a ton, and thank you to everyone that helped provide information for this video, who can all be found in the description. I'll see you next time when we cover Mario Party Star Rush.